began this endeavor and we were dreaming. We didn't know exactly what to do. She took the time to help shape our dreams, to remind us how to engage a public, how to tell stories that are meaningful and true. She took the time and made a dream a reality. Her steadfast support and commitment to the museum has been a source of inspiration for us all, for which we are truly grateful. So I am really pleased to say this for the first time. Join me in welcoming to the Oprah Winfrey Theater, Miss Oprah Winfrey.
Amen. Well, children, when there's so much racket, there's bound to be something out of kilter. I think that twixt the women's in the north and the men's in here, white man's going to be in a fix pretty soon. That little man in the back over there say, women need to be helped into carriages and over mud puddles. And I'm here to tell you, ain't nobody helped me into no carriages, and I ain't never been helped over nary a mud puddle. And ain't I a woman? Look at me. Look at my arms. I done planted and plowed and gathered into bonds and worked as much and ate as much as any man when I could get it. Ain't nobody could hit me, and ain't I a woman? I done born 13 children, and seen them all sold off into slavery. And when I cried out with a woman's grief, ain't nobody but Jesus heard me. And ain't I a woman? I done born the lash as well. And ain't I a woman? It's impossible to stand in this space, to be in this building and not feel the spirits. Can you feel them? Have a seat. I want you to have a seat and feel the spirits. Feel the spirits. The presence of the spirits who honor us by accepting our invitation to make their homes here in the National Museum of African American History and Culture. Feel the spirits, because they have waited a very long time to tell their stories. But I wanted to start with the words of Sojourner Truth, because those words, I've been reciting those words out loud since I was a little girl. Somewhere inside myself, I knew that I had come from a long lineage. So I started learning Fannie Lou Hamer and Sojourner Truth, all the Black poets, Maya Angelou. But I've been reciting those words out loud because they resonated so deeply within me. And because her question, ain't I a woman, is at the heart of why the work to include African American women's voices in our historical and cultural narrative, in the telling and retelling of each and every story, is so absolutely necessary if we want to be serious about getting to the heart of the matter of gender equality and empowerment in this country. And I am honored today to stand as Oprah Winfrey in the Oprah Winfrey Theater. Hello. To add my voice to the choir. So Sojourner's Truth, her famous question came in response to a definition of womanhood that had just been offered by a white male delegate to the 1851 Women's Convention in Akron, Ohio. They were doing the same thing in 51 that we're doing here today. It was a definition which seemed, at the time, determined to exclude her altogether. So rejecting the notion from that little man in the back over there that wealth, that male protection and that class privilege are what defines who is a woman and who is not. She offers instead her own lived reality as the proof that she needs to take her place and her seat at the welcome table. And as she speaks, her passion and her eloquence are undeniable. But here's the thing, all these years, in reciting that Ain't I a Woman speech, in talking to audiences, in sharing that story, the thing that is undeniable for me and has impressed me is her certainty. It's her certainty I admire most. It is her defiant refusal to be made less than the woman fully grown that she knows herself to be. And that is what she is asking of all of us, because her womanness is never up for debate. Ain't I a woman? Her question is actually rhetorical. It's a challenge to the little man in the back over there. And to anyone who thought that they could confine a being as majestic and as magical, as mysterious, as complete as she was, to a small, dark space where she could be disrespected and be desexed, where she could be robbed of her humanity, not a woman, certainly not a man, but some strange, unformed creature distinguished only by her physical strength, by her ability to bear the lash and her ability to suffer the pain of her lost children without going completely mad. I think about her, I think about them all the time. I think about how is it that they did not go insane? Really. Again and again and again and again and again, losing your mother, losing your brother, losing your children, losing your husband, working all day in the field, getting up before the sun came up, not finishing till the sun went down, toiling in the hot sun, not being able to ask for a glass of water, coming home not just tired, bone tired, exhausted, tired in your bones, and your family is gone. Without a word, without a whisper, they are gone. Disappeared, just gone. Come back from the fields and they are just gone. So hear the words of Alice Walker when she says, what is real is what did happen. What happened to me and what happens to me is the most real of all, she says. And I'm here to testify that what happened to them is a part of me. It's a part of us. It's a part of me. And ain't I a woman? That question is at the heart of Black women's collective experience. It isn't that we haven't tried to answer it. It isn't that we haven't tried, we have. But because it's often just us talking to us about us, because we're often the only people listening when we're talking to us about us, it's been difficult for us to be heard. But not anymore. Not anymore because we have the National Museum of African American History and Culture. And I'm here to tell you that its very creation, its very existence, it being here, screams, hear me. Hear me now. Hear me. The words of Mary Helen Washington. She says, if there is a single distinguishing feature of the literature of Black women, and this accounts for their lack of recognition, it is this, that our literature is about us. It's about Black women. It takes the trouble to record the thoughts and the words and the feelings and the deeds and experiences that make the reality of being Black in America look very different from what men have written. Because there is this overall narrative, really, but there's also the specific Black woman narrative, without which the entire edifice is a lie. No matter how carefully constructed, no matter how carefully presented, as if it contains the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth. It does not and cannot, because if we are not there, the true American story cannot be told. Because we are always there, and we have always been there doing everything. Being everything. Doing our part and then some, because as Gwendolyn Brooks said, we would have to conduct our blooming, she said, in the noise and whip of the whirlwind. That's what she said. And so we did. And so we still do. In fact, we're just getting started conducting our business, because we've got entrepreneurs and educators and directors and filmmakers and communications experts and visionaries. We got first ladies and fearless warriors. We got poets. We got politicians. We even got a princess. And we've also got our own network. And ain't I a woman? On the OWN network right now, we're focused on telling stories well, so that you can see yourself in them. Stories like Queen Sugar and stories like Greenleaf. And on June 19th, Mara Brock-Akil brings a new story called Love Is, where you just get to see beautiful, beautiful faces on screen. Beautiful reflections, all of them, of art imitating life as we know it. Life in our churches, and life in our kitchens, and life in our bedrooms. We've been unseen for so long. We've been silent for too long. And make no mistake about this. There's a high price to be paid for accepting your own invisibility. There is a diminishing of soul and spirit when the pictures you see and the definitions you hear never reflect your specific womanness. When the truth of who you are is denied relentlessly, aggressively, audaciously. I mean, I grew up, there was nobody on screen but buckwheat. Nobody wanted to be Buck. So is it any wonder that we sometimes fell silent, and that silence created a void, a sense of primal abandonment and despair sometimes that has shaped not only our history, but has too often shaped our daily lives? Because it makes us, the fact that you never see yourself, you never hear your stories, it makes you begin to doubt ourselves, to wonder if we're lacking some elusive, intangible thing that could make us whole. It makes you feel isolated. It makes you be confused, and you begin to wonder if you'll ever be enough. Well, this is what I know after thousands and thousands of interviews. Everybody feels that. It's the human condition. Am I enough? But it's the human condition on steroids for Black women everywhere. You know, when I talk to my young girl students in South Africa, the insecurity and the fear that comes up over and over and over for them is that question: am I enough? Am I enough? Can I be enough? And my answer is always yes, you already are enough, because you come from what is more than enough. And you just need to be reminded of where you've come from. And that's what this place does. It's why I love this museum so much. It's here to shake the memory banks. It's here to reiterate the knowledge of what you have been through, so you know what you can get through. Hear the words. Hear the words of Pearl Cleage. She says, we have sometimes shivered at the edges of a very cold place where people do not always see our beauty or understand the rhythm of our song. That's what she said. But we never stopped singing. No, how could we? Because in the face of all that attempted silencing, the woman who survives intact must be ever vigilant. She must constantly remind herself that her values and your choices are important. You must know inside, in the deepest part of your being, that you matter. Not just that you matter, but also why. So for me, the foundational base of empowerment, of entrepreneurship, of any kind of engagement, the foundational base of my success, of my well-being, my wholeness, my everything is knowing who I am and where I come from. In my living room right now is a painting that I've owned now for 30 years. You can Google it. It's called To the Highest Bidder. And it's at the center of my house. And it's at the center of my house because it actually is symbolic of the foundation of not the house, but the foundation for my life. The painting is by Harry Roslin, who was a genre painter in the early 20th, late 19th century. And the painting is over 6 feet tall, and it shows a slave woman on the auction block holding her daughter's hand. And I cannot come in the door, my front door, or I cannot leave without passing that painting. I am reminded of where I come from every day of my life, and I am reminded because I never want to forget it. And in my library, I have a framed list of enslaved African-American people, remember I showed you, who were held in bondage on various plantations, listed in the ledgers alongside the cows and the horses and the buggies and the other property. And I pass this list every day. And often I stop in front of it and just speak their names out loud and their ages. Jonas, 11 years old, $500. Sarah, 41 years old, $900. Elizabeth, 57, $800. And I force myself to consider the absurdity and the obscenity of prices being affixed to each one should they be placed up for sale. And I sometimes just pause before them with a prayer, particularly before I have to make a big decision about one of my companies or whether I move forward or whether I stay still. It reminds me, speaking those names out loud, not only of where I've come from, but how far I have to go because of them. And it reminds me that I am never alone. It reminds me of what I've come through to get through. And even when I find myself in settings where I am the only Black woman still, that kind of singularity, it doesn't make me uncomfortable. And I gotta tell you, it never has made me uncomfortable. I walk into a room just as cool as you please. And to a man, the fellas stand or fall down on their knees. Because I've always known I was never anywhere God didn't want me to be. And I've had no issues accepting the success or being worthy of what I know I work for. But these days, it simply makes me wonder, though, when I'm still the only woman or person of color sitting at the table, where my sisters are. It makes me wonder, who has constructed what obstacles aimed at keeping them out? Because without artificial barriers, we would be represented in every room where the criteria are excellence and discipline and determination and vision. We would be there at that table. So these moments when I walk into the room just as cool as you please and I'm the only person of color, I'm the only woman, these are the moments I call upon the ancestors to surround me, to sustain me, to strengthen me. And I call upon them here today. I call upon them and I offer myself to them. I say, I am here. I am ready. And okay, y'all, here we go. Because when I walk into any room, when and where I enter, I am already more than I was. I already embody the truth of Maya Angelou's wise words when she said, I come as one, but I stand as 10,000. I come as one, but I stand as 10,000. I stand not only as 10,000, I stand as 10,000 to the 10th power. I stand on solid rock. I stand because I am the dream and the hope of the slave, and I am more than the seed of the free that Langston Hughes talked about in the poem, The Negro Mother. I am the fruit. I am the flower. I am the blossoming tree, and I shall not be moved. Ain't I a woman? And when I walk with them, when I walk with that 10,000, this is how I am carried through life. I'm carried through life, standing with the 10,000s. And when I walk with them, I remember something else Maya taught me that Jimmy Baldwin taught her. She used to say to me, baby, your crown has been paid for. All you got to do is put it on your head and wear it. So when we come into this museum, we get to see how the crowns were laid out for us. That's what you did for us, Lonnie Bunch. You laid the crowns out so we can see in plain view. We get to see and feel that sense of connection to the past that allows us to step out of our history and step into a future that is brighter than any of them could have ever imagined. But here we are now, together, reshaping our history to finally reflect the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth. That's what this museum is all about. And we're learning to understand and learning to embrace the power from which we have come. That power, I'm telling you, that power, that sense of spiritual energy that you feel here, that's the way station. It's the fuel tank. It's the mainstay of all empowerment. Look at what they did. Now imagine what you can do. We need to wrap ourselves in Sojourner certainty when we say, yes, this is our story. Yes, you need to know that story. You need to know it in order to know yourself. You need to know it in order to know your strength and to understand that strength times strength times strength times strength times strength equals power. Look at what they did. And then imagine what you can do, what we can do together. And then let's get about the business of doing it. Hear the words of Pearl Cleage. She says, we know that we are walking in the footprints made deep by the confident strides of women who parted the air before them like the forces of nature that they were. And we are grateful because we need their wisdom now. We need it now more than ever. We need their clarity and we need their courage. We need their vision to dream bigger, to climb higher, to sing louder, to walk taller, to be better, to allow ourselves to move around fearlessly in spaces that are big enough to hold all that we are, all that we have been, and all that we are intended to be. The reason why so many of us can't move forward is you're in a space too cramped to hold your spirit. You all cramped up. You've got to be in alignment with what it is you want to do. Otherwise, the empowerment doesn't work. We have got to stay ready. We've got to stay tuned up spiritually. It starts in here and moves outward. We've got to stay tuned up spiritually, mentally, so that when we are asked to create whole worlds from scratch, we say yes, yes, of course we can. Because that creating thing, that's our specialty. That's what we do. We have so many worlds inside of us, so many starlit galaxies, so many deep rivers of wisdom and so much truth. We know so much. And we have so much joy buried, waiting, bursting to get out. And yes, we'll be happy to share them. We just been waiting on y'all to see it and to ask. Because we have always known the answer to Sojourner's question, ain't I a woman? The answer is yes. Always and forever, yes. I am a woman in fully grown, whole, a phenomenal woman, as Maya said. And when you see me walk in, it ought to make you proud. Hear the words of Marty Evans. I am a Black woman. The music of my song, some sweet arpeggio of tears, is written in a minor key. And I can be heard humming in the night. I can be heard humming in the night. 'Cause I'm a Black woman, tall as a cypress. I'm a Black woman, strong. Beyond all definition still, they keep trying. But beyond definition still, defying place I am. Defying time I am. And circumstance. I am a Black woman. Assailed? Yes. Impervious? Yes. Indestructible? Yes. I am a Black woman. Look upon me and be renewed. Thank you. Thank you. So I said to Lonnie, I love taking questions. I love the spirit and energy of this place, so I'm happy to take questions for as long as they tell me I can. It was so fun. Remember I told you walking into the exhibit yesterday and the Mari Evans book is there, and I said, I'm going to do that. It's one of my favorite poems. Anybody got a question? Yes, ma'am. Lady in orange. Yes.
In North Carolina,
Uh-huh.
you may know Whiteville.
Yeah.
Cross the marsh, Whiteville, North Carolina.
Whiteville, yes.
What inspires you every single day? Because you inspire us every moment, anytime we see you. So what inspires you?
I will tell you, I live in the space of inspiration for myself. And I thank you for saying that. The truth is, my calling is to inspire. And I have been doing that since I was 3 years old in the Kosciuszko Methodist Buffalo Church that you'll see when you see the exhibit. That's where I started out doing Easter pieces. Jesus rose on Easter Day, hallelujah, hallelujah, all the angels did proclaim. And you know, when we, in the Black culture, we would get all the old hymnals that had been passed down from the white churches. And we'd get, you know, all their discarded stuff. So you would just get like a little piece of a thing and they'd hand it to you and they'd say, this is your piece to learn for either Mother's Day or Easter or Christmas. So my broadcasting career actually started in the church doing those pieces. And I recognized that the thread of my purpose in life began there, just like yours. If you start thinking about where did your yearning to be you start, for me, it started in the church, with the sisters in the front row fanning themselves, saying to my grandmother, "Hattie Mae, this is a talking child." My inspiration, like I went through the whole exhibit. It's quite extraordinary. May I say hashtag goals to have your exhibit on exhibit at a museum. But I got through the whole exhibit yesterday, and the thing that made me cry was at the end. There was a book where people had written just what the exhibit meant to them and what the Oprah show had meant to them over the years. And a woman wrote, "Watching you every day is the reason why I love myself so fiercely." And that made me cry, because that is my goal. My intention is to use my life as an inspiration to other people to see what is possible for themselves. Not my life isn't possible, but my life is an inspiration for you to see the light in your own. And so what makes me the happiest is when somebody gets that. And all the years on the Oprah show, I could always feel when I had connected to the audience, when something was said and it was actually heard. And people, like, I remember the time I shared something Maya had taught me about, when people show you who they are, believe them. And I could feel people get it. I could feel people get it, because the people in the audience did just what you just did. They went, yeah. And then somebody said, you teach people how to treat you. And people go, yeah. So you can feel when you're connecting and you're doing that. So there is nothing that makes me happier in life than making other people be able to fulfill their own happiness. I have all these beautiful girls who are, some of them, I saw you ask a question, but beautiful girls from South Africa, hello, who are stand-up girls, so they can see you. All these girls I've known since they were, since they were 12 and 13 years old. Now they're all graduating college and going out into the world. And I tell them all the time, don't worry about a Mother's Day gift, don't worry about that. First of all, words are important, so knowing how you feel is important. But the other thing is, your happiness is my reward. Your success is my reward. My only goal is to have opened a door, and you being smart enough, wise enough to step through that door and accept the opportunity. So what inspires me is having other people be inspired. Thank you. Yes, ma'am. Flowers. That's you. Mm-hmm. I can hear you. Just. Mm-hmm. It's true. Mm-hmm. Well, first of all, there is nothing, thank you for that, and good luck with your career. Yeah, you're a manifester, so that's good. I'm a big manifester. But here's the deal. There is no dream that you can dream that the power that is God, regardless of what name you call it by, has not dreamed bigger for you. So let's just, for the sake of everybody being on the same page, let's use life for God. Life has dreamed a dream for you. And your goal, your number one job, is to figure out what that dream is. And align yourself with the dream. Because the dream cannot come to you unless you're willing to meet it energetically in the same place. So if your energy is off, which I say to my girls all the time, they could teach this class right now, on being in flow. If you are not in flow with God's dream for you, with life's dream for you, if you are out of order, if you are out of sync, it cannot come to you. It will not come. Because the whole purpose of your life is to line yourself up with the purpose. And so if you are operating in fear, if you are operating in jealousy, jealousy will kill you. Jealousy will keep any kind of anger or jealousy you have about anybody else. So here are a couple laws I have. The first law is the third law of motion in physics, which says for every action, there's an equal and opposite reaction. And we showed that very beautifully in The Color Purple, when Miss Seeley says to Mr., everything you even try to do to me is already done to you. That is not just a rhetorical saying, that is law. That is Newton's third law of motion in physics, which says everything that goes out is coming back. It's just like everything that goes up is coming down, may take it a long time to come down, is coming down. Everything that goes out is coming back, it's coming back. So, to answer the power of manifestation and meditation, what meditation does is sync you up with the source. What meditation does is allows you to literally tap into the power that created you so that you are in alignment with that. And so when you carry that out into the world, everything that you do comes from the center of that alignment that's coming from the source that we call God, we call divine energy, divine intelligence, whatever name you want to give it to, we call life. When you are synced up with life, life just gives to you. It opens doors, it creates experiences, it allows you to meet people, things show up you never thought were going to show up, and you are doing what is the purpose of your soul being here. So one of my favorite teachers is Gary Zukav, who says that authentic power is when you learn to use your personality, which I've done very well. Use your personality to serve the energy of your soul. So you are the bigger soul that has a personality. When you figure out how to take, I have a big personality. It's lovely, it's charming, but it's not me. It's not me. I'm here to do my soul's work. And I use my personality to serve the soul's work. And because I know what the soul's work is, I heard somebody ask earlier about what should you be praying. The prayer is use me. You are here to be used as a vessel from the source from which you have come. And everybody has a different talent. And the reason we're all so messed up is because you're looking at everybody else's talent and wishing you had some of their talent. All the energy that you spend thinking about, wishing about, being jealous of, envious of anybody else is energy that you're not only putting out is going to come back to you negatively, but you're taking that away from you. All your energy should be forced on what do I have to offer? What do I have to give? How can I be used in service? Because Dr. King's message of not everybody can be famous, but everybody can be great because greatness is determined by service. And there is not a job in here that you can do that you don't switch the paradigm to service and not make that job more fulfilling. I don't care what the job is. If you say, I'm a singer, I'm a dancer, I'm an artist, I'm a teacher, I'm a nurse, I'm a doctor, I'm a janitor, I'm a clerk, if you say, if I look at this from how do I use this in service to something bigger than myself? Yes. It no longer becomes a job. It becomes an offering to the world. And that is why you're here. And when you can line up with whatever that is, line up with that. And all you have to do is keep asking the question. And ask the question in purity, not in, when's it gonna come? You know, like, I'm not looking for a man, but is that him over there? I played that game. When you could do that, then it comes. It opens up. Don't you see that? And don't you see the difference between the days you meditate and you don't? Yeah, I try to do it every day because if you don't, it's usually a more messed up day. Doesn't mean you don't get through life because a lot of people are getting through life. It just means your life isn't as enhanced. And everybody who's afraid of meditation, don't even call it meditation. Don't call it that. Just say, I'm going to have, I have what I have a prayer chair. I have a prayer chair. And then I have just a place where I just go and be still. So the Bible says be still and know, because that's the only way you can know. That's right. That's the only knowing there is. And you actually do already know. There's nothing you don't know. And that's why an aha moment is an aha. Because an aha is a remembering of what you already knew. Yeah. So somebody says something, you're in church, the preacher says something, you already knew that. It's just reminding you. It's reminding you that you have forgotten who you were and where you came from. And there is nothing that you cannot do if it is not aligned with the greater source. And the reason why people have so many struggles is because you're struggling against what is for you. Yeah. You're pushing against it. So when you find that you're not moving forward, you need to stop and get still and say, what am I resisting? What am I pushing against? Because it can't come through if you push against it. It only comes through if you're in flow with it. And it just flows. It flows. And it cannot flow if you're afraid. It cannot flow if you're afraid. Okay? Does that answer your question? Yeah. Okay, ma'am, here.
Yes, my name is Dr. Marilyn Porter, and I was going to show I was a pediatrician who was a little boy whose brother passed from a brain tumor.
Oh.
That young man now is a successful Marine, thanks to you, in terms of inspiration. He was doing what he could for us. And I, on behalf of his family.
What year was that?
That was right before you went off. That was
2000. Okay.
And you just made a difference in his life. And I want to thank you.
Well, thank you. Thank you for that. Thank you for that. Okay, a couple more. Lady in yellow. Lady in yellow, then lady in green back there, and then you, and then we'll go.
My name is Shauna Renee. I have an urban storytelling collection.
Uh-huh.
Most of my storytellers are women of color.
Mm-hmm.
And they're very nervous telling their stories in front of white people.
Oh.
Really white women, because they're afraid that their words are going to be misinterpreted or the meaning will be misunderstood. And to be honest, I sometimes have that fear as well, so I have a difficult time talking them through it.
Lower than I thought. Okay.
So I have a difficult time talking them through it, coaching them through it, and I just wanted to know if maybe you could help me help them.
Well, first of all, thank you for asking that. And so how do you do it? Well, how is it done, the storytelling?
Well, we do live storytelling that there are pop-up events all over the country, and so we bring groups of women together to tell stories around a central thing, similar to the moth, but
yeah.
People of color.
Uh-huh.
And so when I curate the shows, I bring them all together and we rehearse the shows and workshop the stories. And there are some very important stories that need to be told, but they're very nervous when I put them in front of a non-Black audience. They could do it here, but when I take them outside and we do corporate events, they're like, I don't know. I'm afraid that they won't quite understand or they'll judge me.
Well, I think that's because there's still some shame stuff involved, right? There's like nobody will understand. So here, I'm going to go around the way to answer that question. So I have this girls' school in South Africa, and I started it with the idea of taking girls who've come from challenged environments and bringing them into the school and giving them this great opportunity, which all of that's working because every one of my girls is brilliant. They come from even the small rural schools that they come from. We went around, Gail and I, the first year, hand-picking every single girl. So every girl you see here today has been hand-picked because they were smart wherever they were. Then they come into my school and they're all thrown off because everybody's smart. It's the first time they've ever been in a place, and that's their first breakdown. Is, oh, Lord, I used to be number 1, and now I'm number 12, Momo. So one of the things that has absolutely helped to turn my school around is the opening up and sharing of stories. And that started because Mpumi, stand up, Pumi, Pumi started doing it, speaking around the country and sharing her story. And has a, what's your website?
Wow. I just love sharing stories. I was orphaned to AIDS when I was 9 years old. And I decided to, I didn't know what I was doing. I just knew that when I told the story, I could see more of myself and my truth. And somehow the world was watching. And now it's a movement called Share Story Africa.
So, but at first, though, you were afraid to share the story. At first, all the girls, over half of our girls have lost their parents, both parents, to AIDS in my school. And everybody was ashamed of telling the story because they thought they were the only one, right? And now you know that there's nothing you can share. So thanks, Pooms. But I would say this. The reason why I was number one for 25 years is because I figured out early on, there is no story anybody has ever heard that somebody else hasn't experienced. Nothing. And I also figured out, probably maybe the first or second year, that all pain is the same. That a mother in Somalia feels the same way as a mother in Seattle when she loses her child. And the common denominator in the human experience is our emotions and our feelings. And the more vulnerable and open you are willing to be with your story, the more actual understanding you create with other people, and the more powerful you become. People don't think less of you for sharing your story. They think more of you for having the courage to share it. So that's what I would say to your women. There is nothing that they can say that hasn't been felt. This is the classic example of this was when I did Toni Morrison for the first time on the book club, or second time. I chose Bluest Eye. Now, Bluest Eye is, intrinsically a black story about, a little black girl who wants to have blue eyes because she doesn't know enough about herself or doesn't think she's beautiful. So I thought this was going to be a story that black women all over the world would relate to. Women in Brazil, women in the Philippines, women in Korea, women in China, women all over the world said, I am that girl. And I was actually surprised. I'm like, how is everybody that girl? Because everybody has experienced that feeling of being the outcast because you didn't look like everybody else thought you were supposed to look. So another great example was when I went to interview in the mid to late 80s, a group of women in prison in Texas, all accused of killing their children. And there were 6 of them, all murderers in for life. And I sat around with them, spent an afternoon with them, ate with them, talked with them. And at the end, one of them came up and said, you're the first person who's ever treated us like we were real people. How could you sit with us? Because we've done terrible things. And I said, because I realized in the talking to you that all pain is the same. And this is what you did with yours. And so there is no story. All stories have the basic 7 themes of, pain or suffering or loss or triumph or whatever. So when you get to the core of what's really going on, everybody who's lost a mother, it's why when Ava DuVernay had this beautiful scene, anybody watch Queen Sugar in here? First season, the first season, you see the first episode or second episode when the father dies. And the 3 generations, the father's on the bed dying, the Ralph Angel is there with his younger son. It's why people all over the world cried. Because everybody knows what it's like. Anybody who's ever been in a hospital room and had to have that moment, it knows no color, it knows no background, it knows no, creed, your belief system. It does. So it does not. So when you get to the root of what's really happening, we all feel the same. That is why I was able to be so successful, is because I knew that we started in Chicago, and I was on the air for a year in Chicago, a couple of years, 80, 84 I started. God, I look at that exhibit, and we were looking at me on the first day. I am actually wearing white stockings, y'all. Aquarius, I did not go to nurse's school. I am wearing white stockings with a jerry curl, with a skirt too long and a coat too short. No, nobody but Jesus could have helped me at that particular time. Gail just said to me yesterday, no way you could have made it today. No way. No way you could have. No way you could have made it. But I understood that there was a common denominator in the human experience because we had already been talking to all these women in Chicago for years and their feelings and their emotions and what they had been through. So I know that just because you are across the state line in Iowa, you're not going to feel any different, or because you're in Michigan, you're not going to feel any different, because you're in Ohio, because you're in Seattle, because you're in Boston, you don't feel any different. It's all the same. Everybody who's been cheated on feels the same, no matter what color you are. You feel the same. You mad. You mad. All right, somebody over there. Got it. That's how you do it. All the story. You get to, yes, ma'am.
I'm Brittany Packman, and I am in a place of deep gratitude and confirmation. I want to ask you about calling.
Yeah.
I was one of those folks who struggled because I was running from mine. Finally decided that I wanted to get in alignment, and discovered in just the past few weeks that my calling is very simply to speak truth. 2 days after I discovered that, I got the invitation to be on stage here.
That's what happened.
And that's because that's what
I
happened.
mean. That's the way it happened.
And as I walked through the exhibit before this portion, I read the journal entry that you wrote the midnight before the airing of your first national show, where you said, maybe this is my calling.
Yeah.
And I would love to know from you, what took you from the place of maybe to assuredness in your calling, and keeps you in the place of being unafraid and unapologetic about exactly what it is?
Great question. Yes. Well, what took me from maybe to a certainty was actually a show I did with the Ku Klux Klan. And that's why everything, this is what I wanted to, if I leave you with nothing else, it's just know this for sure. There is not one thing that has ever happened to you, not one experience, not one encounter, not one crisis, not one joyful thing that hasn't happened just to make you better and help you rise. Every single thing you're calling in, whether you know it or not, when you figure out that you are calling it in, when you actually start meditating or praying or doing or having a spiritual practice, which is the number one thing you need if you want to be successful in the world. You need something that gives back and nourishes you, regardless of what you call that. You need to fill your cup so that you can be so full, your cup runneth over, and you have enough to give to other people. If you don't fill your cup, you end up dried up. You end up tired, exhausted, and don't have enough to give to other people. You end up resentful every time somebody asks you because your cup is empty and now they want some of yours. So your number one job is to fill your cup and make yourself whole. That's your job. So it went from calling to, I was happy to be on TV. I'd been on TV since I was 19. I met my best friend, Gail, in Baltimore. I knew that wasn't my calling, being a television reporter. I hated it. She loves it. And I knew she loves it. I hated it. I always felt out of alignment with myself. But my father was like, girl, don't give up that job. You making $25,000 a year and you 25? Don't give up that job. So I had those voices, but every day I wouldn't say agony. I was trying to find, how can I be myself, be real on the air? And I always felt like I was pretending and that I was out of alignment. And then when they got ready to fire me, they were going to fire me. But they didn't want to release me from the contract. So they thought, well, let's just pay her out and we can get her to do this talk show thing. So they literally put me on the talk show to get me out of the way. And the very first day, I sat on there interviewing the Carvel ice cream man about his multiple flavors. And Benny from All My Children. Remember? Benny used to be on All My Children. Those were my two first guests. And doing Dialing for Dollars in between, I knew that I had come home to myself. I could not predict that it would turn into what it has, but I knew that I could finally breathe, and I was no longer pretending to restrict my feelings, because I'd go out on stories and I would empathize with people. I'd feel bad for them, and that would show up in the work. And then I would, get a little slip from my boss because I had a, really aggressive bad boss. So I started to feel then, this is the job that I want, but I didn't know about calling. I was interviewing a woman on one of the shows. It was so impressive for me to see all the shows that we've done. Lord, it made me tired looking at it. But I was interviewing a woman. It was a show called The Wives Meet the Mistresses, or some crazy thing. And this woman was on, and it was a live show. And in the middle of it, her husband tells the wife and our entire audience and the world that his mistress was pregnant. Yes. To this day, it makes my eyes water because I saw his wife's face. And I felt her humiliation. And I said, I will quit TV if I have to do this. I won't do this anymore. And my producer's like, what are we going to do? This is what everybody's doing. And then during that same time period, so I said, I'm not going to do anything like that anymore. I'm not going to bring people on TV. First of all, we didn't know that moment was going to happen. They were like, we didn't know it was going to happen. But that should not happen on television. And I do not want to be a part of the energy that caused somebody to feel that, because that's now going to come back to me. I got to pay for that. Then I was interviewing the KKK on stage. That was the day the one guy called me a monkey in the audience. And during commercial break, I could see them signaling each other. And just watching them and their behavior, I thought, they get it. I don't get it. They are using me. They are using this platform because they understand, because I'm thinking, I'm going to tell you all about the KKK. They were using it to recruit members for themselves. They were using it to recruit their base. And I then went to the producers and said, I'm not doing a show like that. So they said, you're not going to do the mistresses. You're not going to do the KKK. What are we going to do? So I said, we are going to create a baseline for ourselves that's based on intention. This was around 1989 when I'd read Gary Zukav's book called The Seat of the Soul. And that book was life-changing for me because in it he talked about the power of intention, and that cause and effect, what goes out comes back, is determined by your intention. The energy of your intention is what determines your life. Most people don't think about their intention. They just think about what they want to do. Most people don't think about why they want to do it. But what's going to come back to you, the energy that's going to come back to you, is the real why of why you did it. And so I then said to my producers, we're not going to do any shows that are not intentional. So don't bring me an idea unless you have an intention for the show that you want the outcome to be. And we're going to strive to see if we can live up to our intentions. And so around the late 80s, we started a pre-show to talk about what the intention was, and then a post-show after every single show to say, did we fulfill that intention? And that's about the time I realized this is bigger than me. And my journal prayers, if you were to look at my journal over the years, is that I started to recognize that it wasn't just a show. And the KKK helped me to see that. It wasn't a show. It was a platform to be used as a mission. Just like they were recruiting their base, I could recruit mine. And I was going to recruit for good. So I said to the producers, we're going to be a force for good. We're going to use this to inspire, your question. And we're going to use this to uplift wherever we can. And we're going to use it to inspire, uplift, encourage, and entertain. And so your show ideas have to include some little bit of all of that. Did it inspire somebody? Did it uplift somebody? Did it encourage somebody? And did you also do that in a way that was entertaining? And you will know it's your calling when you would do it for nothing. You will know that you will know that you're in alignment because the flow is so, I mean, we worked, you know, our team worked 14, 18-hour days every single day. And then we take 3 months off and then come back and try to do better. We were our own competition. The only competition that I allowed into the room was how do we make ourselves better? Spend no time thinking about what Geraldo Rivera is doing. That's just energy you're giving to Geraldo Rivera, and not, you know, let's put it all into ourselves. And so when you are on purpose, everything starts to line up. My girls tell you, you start to feel in flow, and you get asked to speak here, and then something else happens, and something else happens. In order to stay in flow, you got to stay in some kind of prayer-filled state, whether that's whatever you do with yoga or meditation or centering yourself. But the way you bring that in is that you get clear for yourself. The life force that we call God is waiting to answer whatever questions or prayers you have. It's just always waiting on you. It's not here to punish you or to make you feel bad or to cause you to struggle. Everything that is happening to lift you to higher ground. Every single thing. So even the KKK, which was not a good experience at the time, I thought, okay, what can I get out of this? Maya used to say, God put a rainbow in every cloud. There's one in every cloud. And no matter what the news is, what the crisis is, what the damage is, it's there to shift you to move into another direction. And one of the other things I learned is that it is also whispering to you all the time. And most people are so damn hard-headed and tone deaf, they can't get the whisper. So it whispers first. And a whisper is really as simple as, like, anybody in here ever involved with somebody cheated on you? Don't have to raise your hand, it's okay. I know it's a big number. It's a big number because it's a big club. But anybody who's ever had somebody cheat on you, when you start thinking about it, there was always a whisper. There was always a, And that's what a whisper is. It's just, That don't make no sense. You said you left the office at what time? And then it's been said, It feels just like that. It feels just like it's And most people don't get it. And that is for every area of your life. It always does that first. Even for people who end up with diseases that overcome the body, there was always a whisper. There was a hint. There was a something that showed itself and you ignored it and told yourself it was something else. And so you don't pay attention to the whisper then turns into, so the whisper is always there to give you a message. It's like a little message. And you don't pay attention to the message, you get thumped upside the head. It's like little pebbles all around, okay? That means now you got little problems. Now you got a headache. You don't pay attention to that. Most people are brick people. You got to get a brick upside your head before you can even start to hear it. And then there are the people who need the brick wall, where you need a full-blown crisis and you're in the middle of the crisis before you actually want to do something about it. And then those are people who say, I don't know, I never saw it coming. It just came out of the blue, when it had been whispering all along. So your life, may I just say, your life is whispering to you. Your life is whispering to you. Your being here today, big old whisper. It's here to nudge you in the right direction. And you know it's correct. Don't you feel now you're moving in the right direction? You know it because you feel it. Final question, lady in green, then we're going to go. Thank you. Lady in green, that would be you.
So thank you so much. As you just talked about that whisper.
Yeah.
I got a whisper
about a month ago, I started a journey training to create a better me. Mm-hmm. And in that 2 months, and working with my trainer and my journey, my mother died, and I feel like she became my guardian angel. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. My life is transforming right before me, but she put a lot of the principles that you just talked about for me to listen to what God said to me. And then not just to listen, but to be obedient. Yeah. That when he whispered. Yeah. I feel like I'm one of your disciples because the way you speak is the way I live, and it's the way I'm teaching my daughter today.
Oh, beautiful.
I told her last week that I would meet you. And she said, really? And I said, I'm going to this event. And I said, I have to tell her that I want to be one of her disciples. Because we can't.
Holy. Lord God Almighty.
It sounds so fun. It sounds so strange, but you have to carry this message on. Yeah. I met you in 1982. Does it sound familiar?
No.
Mocha. Hold on. You started out by
82,
saying
82. I was in Baltimore. Right?
That's exactly right. At my high school, almost the same time, I was graduating, and you were our commencement or senior day speaker, and you started out mocha, mahogany, chocolate, and you told us how beautiful we were. Do you remember that?
I do remember that.
That's when. So that's actually when you touched my life at that humble beginning to inspire me to who I am today. I am one of the only Black women who owns and manufactures IT software in the country.
Get it, girl.
And I thank you for the applause. But it's not a good thing. It should be more of us. And the reason why there aren't more of us is because we don't get the investment dollars. But it doesn't stop us, right? Just like you said up there on the stage, we're going to be the only. Yeah. In many, many cases, but it's truly up to us to continue to inspire and uplift others. So I do mentor other women now who have baby software companies, and mine is still a baby compared to the other competitors that I have to encounter, like, my white competitors and Facebook who get money like crazy, right? But I come to you for three things. One, to accept your invitation to be on your show. Okay. Two, to inspire. See, you said we were in alignment. We're in alignment. Okay. And then two, these young ladies, I had an opportunity to be an entrepreneur and resident and train women in South Africa 10 years ago. And we're ready to go back. And I would love to I will have been in business 25 years, August 31st of this year. Amen. In IT in Baltimore. I own a business that I'm creating, an urban technology center to inspire middle school and high school young ladies to become a tech entrepreneur like myself.
Okay, third is.
And then the third is, I don't even remember now, but we'll just take those two. To be on your show, to be an inspiration to these young ladies, and then continue to inspire women like myself, because this year I will actually launch my first book and podcast called 3 Times a Million. I'm a 3 times millionaire created from the baby community in Baltimore.
Bless you for that. Thank you for that. 3 times millionaire. Thank you. Tell your daughter it happened. We met. We did. I will. And I'll get your name for afterwards. Before I leave, I just want, there's one man in here? Okay. Lisa. Hello.
I was blessed to be able to go to Live Your Best Life tour. And one of my favorite moments and what has stuck with me is when you shared the story about the trees. And I know you were finishing, but if you have the energy to quickly share the story of the trees, because it was just something so impactful. And I think those of you not familiar with it, you will definitely be blessed by the story of the trees. It was truly remarkable.
Oh, thanks, Lise. This is it's about the trees in my yard, right? Yeah. Okay. I got lots of trees, I know. Thanks for reminding me of that story. So the story is that when I was living in Baltimore, there's a woman named, there's a famous lawyer in Baltimore, worked in Baltimore, Washington area, named Arnold Weiner, and his wife was Arlene Weiner, who was a producer at my station in Baltimore, WJZ. And Arlene Weiner was the richest person I ever knew. And I went to her house one day, and out in front of her yard, first of all, there were 3 cars. There was a Mercedes, and there was a Jaguar, and there was a BMW, and I was like, whoa, that's rich. And then I, went inside the home, and I remember standing in her living room looking out, and there were all these trees. There were 6 trees I counted. I go, boy, that's really rich. When white people are rich, they got cars and trees. When I get rich, I'm gonna give me some cars, I'm gonna give me some trees. So I went through my car phase really early on, and realized that it didn't really matter what kind of car you had getting to work. But I still had this thing about trees. And so I live now in a place in Santa Barbara that I call the Promised Land, because I get to live the life that Martin Luther King talked about. And there isn't a day, not a day, that I don't wake up. I mean, just waking up is a joy. And the first thing I feel or think when I wake up is thank you inside my spirit. Whoa, I'm still here. This is good. But I look out to my bedroom faces the ocean, and the front of the house faces the mountains. So I had this vision, manifestation of trees. And I used to dream of being in a house that had at least 6 trees. And I was standing in the kitchen one morning making tea or chai or something, and I was waiting on it to brew, and I looked out the kitchen window over at the sink, and there were the 6 trees. Right inside the kitchen window were the 6 trees. I took my tea and I went outside, and beyond the 6 trees are thousands of trees. 3,615 trees. How do I know? I had them counted. And so, as I'm standing there, I'm thinking, God, I had the dream of the 6 trees. I just wanted the 6 trees. But God had a dream for more trees than I could ever imagine. And Lisa wanted me to share that story, I know, because that is true for you. The thing I learned during The Color Purple, which I won't bore you with that long story, but what I learned in The Color Purple is that if you surrender your heart's desire, the Bible says, those of you who are Bible readers, Psalms 37:4, delight thyself in the Lord. He will give you the desires of your heart. So what is the Lord? The Lord ain't just in church. The Lord is everybody you meet. The Lord is everything that you do. The Lord is your art as life. The Lord is your work. If you delight yourself in the goodness and the grace and the abundance that's been offered to you as a human being on the planet Earth at this time, He will give you the desires of your heart The desires of your heart will be fulfilled. Dream the dream of the 6 trees, and he can give you thousands and thousands and thousands of trees. I look out over my lawn now. I can't even, I will tell you, I have this whole ritual that every time I pass the front lawn, the trees, I go, Jesus loves me. Jesus loves me. Yes. This I know, this I know, this I know. And that's my ritual. Doesn't have to be yours. But when you live in the space of gratitude for what you have, what you've accomplished, and if you look at this room, just the fact that you all are sitting in this room, what I hope you will do is give yourselves a round of applause. Because look at what you have been through. We're gonna take a moment. I want you to just think of everything that you have endured. Think of the trials you thought you weren't going to make it through. Think of the people who hurt you, the people who didn't believe in you, the people who said you couldn't, the people who said you wouldn't, who didn't believe that you had what it took. Look at how many times you've been put down and you had to get up. How many didn't know what tomorrow or next week would bring, but you kept going. You did not give up, and you are still here, still standing in the grace that brought you here in the first place. That knowingness is the key to your empowerment and your entrepreneurship. There is no other foundation. That's it. So whatever dream you can dream, and not dream in resistance, not dream in fear, not dream in, oh, I'm going to do the thing that's going to make the most money. A guy came up to me at your graduation and said, can I talk to you about my wealth plan? I want to talk to you about my wealth building plan, how am I going to build wealth? And I say, well, first of all, how am I going to do that through cooking? I go, you can't do it with a wealth building plan. The universe, God, all your ancestors, they didn't put you here just so you could make money. If I'd been trying to make the money that I have, I wouldn't have known how to do it. I've made the money and garnered the success because every step I made was a step in the direction of how can I be more? How can I be better? How can I do this in a way that is authentic to myself, that is aligned with my personality, using my personality to line up with my soul. That's how I got here. And, lots of times people tell them you'll be there in a minute. Tell them you'll be there in a minute. Lots of times people, just think about a lot of people in this room, you're doing okay. She just shared with us, she's in flow, she changed directions, she's now in the calling. Your only job is to figure out what that is. And it doesn't have to be some big, grandiose thing. It's just what is true to you. What is true to you? My cousin Alice is here, who's been with me since I was a little girl. Stand up, cousin Alice. So everybody see my cousin Alice. My sister Pat, who we just discovered in 2011, we didn't know my mother had another child, and she found us. Stand up, she's here. And I will say that they, in their own way, both of them have such incredibly wonderful, loving spirits. I'll be talking to my sister Pat, and she'll go, oh, my stars. She's a person who actually says, oh, my stars. First time I heard it, I went, oh, my stars. But the spirit in which she lives, my cousin Alice, just the love that they have to offer everybody that they meet is a gift. You feel blessed by being in their presence. That's your purpose. So when you die and people say, whatever it is how you let them feel. So I'll leave you with this. Maya Angelou said to me when I came back to her home, she wasn't able to make the opening of my school. And I said, oh, Maya, this is so wonderful. This is going to be my greatest legacy. And she said, you have no idea. what your legacy will be. And she was making biscuits, and I was watching, supposed to be learning how to make biscuits, still don't. But I said, no. You can't imagine. I mean, Nelson Mandela was there. It was so wonderful. And all the girls, and they're going to go on and do great things in their lives, and they're going to carry on my legacy. And she put the dough down, honey. And she said, I told you, you have no idea what your legacy will be. The school will carry on and the girls will carry on, but your legacy is every life you touch. Your legacy. And that is true for me. It's as true for me as it is for you. It's every life you touch. It's everyone you ever encounter who has been lifted up or taken down by you. That's your legacy. That's your legacy. And you've already been through so much, endured so much just to be who you are. If you use the foundation of what you already know, it's already there. Those of you who've nodded your head and yes and everything I've said, I have not said one thing that you didn't already know. Because you know the truth. You know the truth. And that's what this building is. It's filled with the truth of who you are, who we are. And because you've come from that, you know, the thing that has actually hurt me the most is being an African-American woman in this culture and having African-American people say, I haven't done enough for African-American people. So that hurts me. And I tell you why. Because they don't know. They don't know what I know. I know the only reason I am who I am, doing what I do where I do it, is because of the foundation that is the root from which I have come. And that I know that every good thing that comes to me comes as a result of the path that has been paved. And when you know, when you can tap in, when I talk about that, come as one is come and come as one, but stand as 10,000. There have been times I've been in my office and had a big decision to make. I had to fire somebody, had been with me for 18 years, had been, you know, a part of my company, and it was a really tough thing for me. You know what I did? I went in the closet, I sat on the floor, and I called them up. I said, okay, y'all, we got to go. We got to go and fire this man right now. It's going to be hard, but we're going to do that. I walk into the room and I carry the energy and the spirit of them with me. I am never alone. I am never alone. It's why the use of disparate to the N word, I can't use it. I can't use it because it means I got to call all them that. If I'm that and you're that, it means you walk through this museum and everybody in this museum is also that too. It's why I can't use the B word on myself or on you, because it means I got to call Fannie Lou Hamer that too. I got to call Sojourner that too. And that is not who I am or who you are. If you know where you've come from, you stand in the root of that and the power of that and let that lift you and carry you and allow you to continue to rise. So those are my final words. My last word is this. I just did on Gail's show a book by a man named Anthony Ray Hinton, who has been on death row for 30 years and just got off death row 2 years ago. The man lived 30 years on death row for a crime that the state of Alabama knows he did not commit. But they wanted him because there were 2 murders, they hadn't had any suspects, and they kept him besides the ballistics test that proved that he didn't do it, the polygraph test that proved he didn't do it. It would honor me if you would honor him by purchasing that book. Because this man has spent 30 years of his life. I just want him to have a comfortable life. I'm not going to get a cent from the book. I don't get a cent from any of the books that I recommend, but he deserves now a better life. And I know that if you all spread the word, it will happen. The name of the book is The Sun Does Shine by Anthony Rahin. So if you can pass that on, that would be a blessing to me. Thank you for your questions today. Thank you for being here. Go forward. Go forward. Continue to rise.
Wow. Thank you all so much for being here. I think we all just went to church, we went to school, and we finally got on the Oprah Winfrey Show. So thank you all for being with us today. Enjoy the rest of your day, and thank you so much for doing the work you do. Goodbye.
You're broken down and tired. You're living life on the.
All right, guys, so that needs really no conclusion. Oprah was in New York City yesterday. She came down to D.C. today to speak, of course, at the National African American Museum of History and Culture, where her exhibit is actually on display now. Her talk show, actually the set is there in an exhibit, so she referenced that a few times, but pretty amazing, really powerful. Thank you guys for coming on our stream to watch that. She's here in the area, obviously, just a few miles down the road from us, so it's cool to have such an amazing, powerful influence in our presence. Meanwhile, guys, our newsroom is totally abuzz with Caps fever because the Capitals look to win the Stanley Cup tonight. They're playing in Vegas, and they may win. Obviously, we don't want to jinx anything. Everyone's crossing their fingers. They might win the Cup tonight. There's a huge watch party down at Capital One Arena. And actually right now, on more of a local level, the police chief, Peter Newsham, is spouting out some of the security measures they're taking in and around that area this evening. So we're going to jump right over there to that press conference already in progress. In case you guys are in the area or staying around, you just see how that area is going to be flooded in just a few hours. Here's what the police chief has to say right now.
There are a lot of Capitals fans that say that there might be a jinx associated with that. So I'll stay away from those questions. When the Caps do win their next game, we can talk about the parade in detail. Yep. Yeah, and we've had the same experience at the all of our local establishments throughout the city. We have larger crowds than normal for these events that are viewing at these establishments, and I've been very impressed with the way that the community in Washington D.C. has been behaving at these events. We haven't had any problems. Of course, we're going to have additional staffing in any of the club areas in the city, and then we also have to maintain staffing in our neighborhoods. So this won't draw from any of our neighborhood staffing. Oh, yeah. No, we're not going to talk about numbers. I'm sorry? We have everybody that we believe that we need for this circumstance. Yep. Okay.
Sure. The question is, what are we doing above and beyond what we do every day in terms of safety, which is just as the chief said, we do things constantly. So this is an event, but we have events every morning, every evening with peak hour flow. It's Pride Week this week, so we are geared up for any emergency that would come up. We actually have, our staff has been fantastic in both in terms of their approach and coming to work and making sure that this all goes smoothly. So we'll see no issues there either. Yeah. What we'll do, we will tell people please to go to our website and look at our tweets and what's happening with the service. We'll play this, as it plays out. But we can't keep running people. We have safety concerns with our people. They can only work so many hours and things like that. So we'll have to monitor that as the situation unfolds. I would not. I wouldn't. No, we're going to keep to 1 hour. Yep. Okay.
Thank you for coming out to get the latest information on all things Stanley Cup Final. I'm Lindsay Parker. I'm Mayor Bowser's Deputy Chief of Staff. As you know, we're expecting large crowds for tonight's Game 5 viewing party. And as we were with Games 3 and 4, we're prepared to ensure that everyone has a safe and enjoyable experience here in Washington, D.C. Now we need to ensure that everyone who will be in the area this evening has the information they need to be safe and have fun. And so I'm joined here by Mayor Bowser's team, the Deputy Mayor for Public Safety and Justice, Kevin Donahue, Metropolitan Police Department Chief Peter Newsham, Fire and EMS Chief Gregory Dean, District Department of Transportation Director Jeff Marudian, Deputy Chief of Operations at the DC Homeland Security and Emergency Management Agency, Dante Lucas, HCMA's Special Events Bureau Chief, Tanya Mitchell, the WMATA head, Paul Wittefeld, as well as Chris Shorter, our Director of the Department of Public Works. We know that the district and really the entire region is excited to rock the red tonight and cheer on the Capitals to victory. Just as we did for all the other home games, for Games 3 and 4, there are pretty extensive road closures right around here, and you're already going to see that some of those are going into effect as we speak. So once again, we're asking people coming downtown not to drive and instead to take public transportation. And we've got a lot of options for you. So beginning at 6 p.m., the DC Circulator is going to be free for all routes. And as was the case for both home games, Games 3 and 4, Metro will be staying open later. The DDOT director and the WMATA head will be talking about that in a bit. Once downtown, we're asking our fans to have fun, right? We want everybody to have fun and certainly and show their enthusiasm for the Capitals. But also, we really want people to be a good sport. So keep the cross-checking to the players on the ice and help us keep downtown in good order. As we encourage fans, residents, and visitors to text all caps, so ALLCAPS, to 888-777 to receive important text alerts about safety and transit issues. Now, I'd like to welcome Chief Newsham to give us some more specifics about what to expect tonight. Thanks.
All right, you're welcome. Good afternoon, everyone. This has been a tremendously wonderful experience for Washington, D.C. We have seen people who have been extremely excited about the progress the Capitals have made. The only downside that I have seen to this point is that we had to see Pat Collins in what has been described as a too tight Elvis outfit. And hopefully we won't have to see that too much going further into the future. Anyways, good afternoon, and thank you for joining us outside the Capital One Arena, home of our Washington Capitals. Let me extend a sincere thanks to all of the residents, workers, and businesses in the immediate area. We understand many of you may have been inconvenienced recently to accommodate these games, the police presence, and we certainly appreciate your patience. The excitement is evident across the city, and like previous Stanley Cup final games this series, we are prepared. As you all know, MPD plans for safe and successful large events on a regular basis, and we have engaged with our partners in the NHL throughout this process. We've also reached out to the police agencies who have hosted similar events to learn from their experiences. Based on those conversations and our own experience in facilitating large events, we will activate our Joint Operations Command Center this afternoon. That will remain open through the early morning hours. By now, I hope everyone has had an opportunity to review the list of road closures and parking restrictions that will be in effect this evening, and are making plans to avoid the area if they're not coming to the event, and to look for alternative forms of transportation options that are available. The road closures and parking restrictions that were in effect for Game 4 will be the same that will be in effect for tonight. In the event that the Caps win tonight, and the potential for larger crowds to exceed the established road closure area, we are prepared to adjust accordingly and maintain the road closures into the early morning hours. MPD has increased staffing in and around the arena, as well as secured additional resources in each of the district's citywide agencies for any potential incidents that may occur across the city. We anticipate an excited crowd this evening, and do want to remind people that alcohol is prohibited from the outdoor watch party, and to kindly dispose of any trash in appropriate bins that are in the area. Please do not attempt to climb any of the poles or traffic signals. This is extremely dangerous, not only to you, but to the people below. And please respect all of our great local establishments, and understand that everyone is here to enjoy the moment and witness the Caps bring home their first Stanley Cup victory in franchise history. If you're bringing young children down here, please talk to them prior to them coming. In the event they get separated from you, there will be visible MPD police presence in the area. If you do get separated from your children, please go to one of our police officers who will be there to assist you. Many of you have questions concerning a potential parade. In the event we do have a parade here in our city, this is a city where we have parades on almost a weekly basis. It is something that we will be well accustomed to having here in Washington, D.C. I'm going to thank you all right now. We're going to take questions in a moment. I'm going to ask Jeff Marudian from the Department of Transportation to come up and say a few words. Jeff.
Thank you, Chief. Good afternoon, everybody. To echo the Chief of Police, we are very excited to be here today. The District Department of Transportation has been working alongside our fellow agencies to ensure that everybody who wants to come and enjoy the festivities this evening can do so safely. We will be here. Our traffic control officers will be out helping to facilitate the flow of traffic for vehicles, pedestrians, and bicyclists. To echo the chief, as you can tell, there are a number of road closures that are already in place. Several more will be following later this afternoon throughout the evening. We are encouraging folks to utilize transit to the greatest extent possible. General Manager Wiedefeld is here, who I know will talk a little bit about Metro service. Mayor Bowser yesterday announced that we will be offering free circulator starting at 6 p.m. this evening. There is a circulator stop just a few blocks away from here on 7th and Massachusetts. We also have several locations where you can park bicycle. We have a Capital Bike Share Corral. So there are a number of alternatives to driving in this area. Due to the closures, due to the parking restrictions, we strongly encourage individuals who are hoping to come down and enjoy the festivities to utilize alternative forms of transportation. So we look forward to taking any questions that you might have after some remarks. It's now my pleasure to turn it over to General Manager Paul Wiedefeld.
Thank you, Jeff. Good afternoon, everyone. As you heard, actually we made historic news last night when we said we'd be open an extra hour when we actually don't even have a home game, an away game. So it's the first time ever in our history to do that. And thank you, obviously, to Monumental Sports and Entertainment for their support to making that all happen. We will basically have all the stations will be exit only except for Metro Center, obviously here at Gallery and Judiciary. And that's just given the volumes of people that we'll be having to deal with that we envision later tonight. We're looking for a very exciting evening, and I know our crowds have been fantastic on the trains, even some of our players, and it's been a really fun run for everyone. And let's go Caps.
All right, thanks, Paul. Do we have any questions for the chief? All right.
You know, we'll play it by ear. If it seems like it's going to disrupt the morning rush hour, then of course we'll urge people to go home. You know, so far our experience, and you have to understand this is the 5th time we've done this. We've had 2 live games here. We've had 2 viewing parties. The 2 live games, we had pretty well-known talent that came here before the games, and the folks that have come down to this event have been in a celebratory mood. They've been extremely cooperative. You have seen people wearing Caps jerseys and wearing LA Knights jerseys that are communicating and cooperating. We don't anticipate any problems. We expect the same thing tonight. We would tell people to be mindful that if their celebration is starting to last a little bit too long, they may want to consider what impact that's going to have on the morning rush hour. Yep. Yeah, so this is Washington, D.C. We are always prepared for terrorist attacks here in Washington, D.C. Because we will have a large crowd gathered in this area, we will be particularly sensitive to the fact that somebody could come out and take advantage of the fact that we have a large crowd here. We do not talk about the specifics of the actions that we are taking, but I can tell you that we are well aware of that potential, and the Metropolitan Police Department will be prepared for that. You had a second part, though. I'm going to ask, or your second part was about rowdy fans. You know, we haven't seen that so far, and I don't expect it tonight. I think that the folks that have been enjoying this great success by the Capitals they've been fantastic, and I don't expect anything different tonight. Yep. You know, we live here in a city which, you know, if you look at the 3 cities in the country that face terrorism, and in no particular order, it's New York, Los Angeles, and here in Washington, D.C. So we're acutely aware of the fact that there are people from around the world that may want to do harm in our country, and we will be prepared for that. And like I said earlier, I don't anticipate anybody coming down here creating a problem. You know, we're always prepared for arrests. But our goal is not to have to make any arrests. And so far, we've had, like I said, we've had 4 huge events here in the city. We've only made a couple of arrests as a result. I don't anticipate anything different tonight. Yep. Most of it is self-enforcement, so a lot of people are not coming down here and drinking. If people do come down here and drinking, they will be asked to either leave or to put their alcohol away. You know, if it gets to the point where arrests need to be made, we will do that, but we certainly don't want to have to do that. Go ahead. The final work on the parade is being done right now, and I would be in big trouble if I was to talk about that at this point. I think there are a lot of Capitals fans that say that there might be a jinx associated with that. So I'll stay away from those questions. When the Caps do win their next game, we can talk about the parade in detail. Yep. Yep. Yeah, and we've had the same experience at the you know, all of our local establishments throughout the city. We have larger crowds than normal for these events that are viewing at these establishments, and I've been very impressed with the way that the community in Washington, D.C. has been behaving at these events. We haven't had any problems. Of course, we're going to have additional staffing in any of the club areas in the city, and then we also have to maintain staffing in our neighborhood. So this won't draw from any of our neighborhood staffing. Oh, yeah. No, we're not going to talk about numbers. I'm sorry? We have everybody that we believe that we need for this circumstance. Yep. Okay.
Sure. The question is, what are we doing above and beyond what we do every day in terms of safety? Which is just as the chief said, we do things constantly. So this is an event, but we have events every morning, every evening with peak hour flow. It's Pride Week this week, so we are geared up for any emergency that would come up. We actually have our staff has been fantastic in both in terms of their approach and coming to work and making sure that this all goes smoothly. So we'll see no issues there either. Yeah, what we'll do, we will tell people please to go to our website and look at our tweets and what's happening with the service. We'll play this, as it plays out. But we can't keep running people. We have safety concerns with our people. They can only work so many hours and things like that. So we'll have to monitor that as the situation unfolds. I wouldn't, no, we're going to keep to 1 hour. Yep. Okay.
Thank you so much, Speaker Ryan. And as far as the weekend goes, and miles to go before we sleep, right? We're just getting started. So very quickly, I'll tell you that, again, for the rest of this afternoon, from 2:30 to about 4:30, we'll have 8 members of the House and the Senate that'll be joining us in, if you watch on C-SPAN or on TV, there's a big hearing room in the U.S. Senate. The office building is called the Dirksen building. It should be in your program. The Dirksen building, the room number is actually on there. It's on the ground floor, room 50. So take your programs with us. And in about an hour, a little over an hour, we'll actually start that program. I strongly encourage you, don't be late and don't miss this thing, because the very first person that's going to go is going to be Senator Chuck Grassley, who in the Senate, U.S. Senate, chairs the Judiciary Committee, which is the committee of jurisdiction for almost all of the issues that are core to who we are. Among them, chiefly among them, is the judicial process itself, confirming judges. And so Senator Grassley, not only will we be thanking him for all the work that he's already done, but honestly, he's going to be giving us a little bit of an update on what is on deck right now, even as we speak. So 2:30, Senator Grassley will start. We'll go from there with Senator Orrin Hatch and a number of others. So it's going to be a great program, great opportunity to kind of get a little bit of a peek behind the curtain, if you will, of how the House and the Senate works, and get to hear firsthand. So we have, as you exit this, go back up to the registration desk that we all walked through the lobby to the opposite side of the hotel. There's like a parking lot. So instead of having buses parked on the street in front of the hotel, we're parked in a parking lot. So all the way, essentially the opposite side of the hotel, okay? There are limited number of buses. We're going to have as many of you guys as we can on there, but if the buses essentially amount to a first come, first serve, and then we'll have they're lining up, cabs, and if you're an Uber fan, help yourself. So again, the Senate Dirksen building, and we'll get started at 2:30, and so we'll adjourn for the morning, and we'll see you here in just about an hour or so across town on Capitol Hill. Thanks so much, guys.
All right, guys, obviously we cut in there at an unfortunate time because they're taking a little break for this luncheon, but this is actually the Faith and Freedom Coalition. It's being held at the Omni Shoreham Hotel right here in Washington, D.C. Many lawmakers are there to speak, and essentially it's 72 hours. It's a 3-day thing. It's a 1.8 million member grassroots nonprofit campaign, and it's staging sort of its annual gathering. It's called Road to Majority. I know Vice President Pence is or was slated to speak, as well as Speaker Ryan. He already spoke this morning. This was kind of going on live kind of during Oprah Winfrey's speech, so I wanted to make sure I took her in its entirety. But this is, again, a 3-day event with lawmakers and power players here in D.C., discussing policy and strategy and outreach when it comes to faith and whatnot. And you can see here the B-roll. You can see a various group of religious leaders who are there and numerous politicians and lawmakers who are also there to let their thoughts and their values be known in this event. So I know we're totally changing gears here and there, but lots of stuff to get to. Obviously, all eyes on the Caps this evening as we go into Game 5, and we hope for a Stanley Cup win tonight. So anybody from and around D.C., let us know if you have any plans to watch the Caps, what you're doing. I think I'm going to try to go down to the thick of it tonight to sort of just be in it and watch along with some of our crew nearby the arena, not going inside, but that has been long sold out, that watch party. Again, the game in Vegas, but the big party here really along that whole corridor right around that Chinatown area of the arena. So super exciting stuff tonight. That's all coming up. Let's take a look, though, at some of the recap of some of our stories from yesterday and how they ended up. A little recap of RFK 50 years later, as well as some of the other stories that we were talking about yesterday with President Trump and the Philadelphia Eagles. All those little recaps in some of our top stories of today. Check it out.
It's one of the most infamous political assassinations in American history. 50 years ago, Senator Robert F. Kennedy was shot and killed after giving a victory speech in the California Democratic primary. Many called it the end of an era, but today, the RFK legacy lives on, with members of the Kennedy family, friends, lawmakers, and hundreds of others gathering to pay tribute to his life and work.
In the quiet spaces that rarely sought or got attention, Robert Kennedy found the arteries of our American heart.
Among those honoring Kennedy, former President Bill Clinton, who spoke about his newfound ability to recognize America's shared humanity after witnessing RFK on the campaign trail in 1968.
He did something unusual for a politician back then when you couldn't check every word every day. He actually said the same thing everywhere he went.
There are other events taking place across the country this week to honor RFK, including a special exhibit at the former Ambassador Hotel in Los Angeles, where he was killed. Visitors say, in a country still struggling with deep divisions, his legacy is just as important today as it was in the civil rights era.
It's very inspiring to hear his words and to see him changing over those years from his position of privilege to being someone who really empathized with the poor, with the disenfranchised.
The site of the Ambassador Hotel has been transformed into an education complex containing 6 public schools, each with a mission to teach and practice social justice. In Washington, Doug McElway, Fox News.
This is the greatest day of my life.
A 63-year-old grandmother serving time on drug offenses suddenly has her life sentence commuted.
I'm feeling no handcuffs, nothing on me. I'm free to hug my family.
Alice Johnson has President Trump to thank, but there's someone else who was crucial to the release, Kim Kardashian. The reality TV star has been campaigning hard for Johnson's release and pushed for it during last week's meeting with the president in the Oval Office. A newly freed Johnson didn't hold back the tears as she literally ran into the arms of her waiting family.
I describe it as a resurrection. I've been resurrected from the dead.
Johnson was convicted on money laundering and drug conspiracy charges. In 1997, she was sentenced to life without parole. The grandmother has reportedly been a model prisoner during her 2 decades in an Alabama jail. In a statement, the White House said Johnson has accepted responsibility for her behavior and wants to give back.
I can't wait to get back into the workforce. I can't wait to just embrace my community who has supported me.
Johnson now vowing to fight for other inmates to give them the same opportunity.
God has given me this second chance so that others may one day have a second chance. So I have an obligation not only to my family who has waited all of these years for me, but an obligation to the people who have been left behind.
The release wasn't solely a Trump-Kardashian effort. Johnson's clemency was also supported by her warden and case manager, among other prison officials. In Washington, Lauren Blanchard, Fox News. The Philadelphia Eagles breaking their silence after President Trump canceled their visit to the White House. The team says they're back at work preparing for the upcoming season and trying to put what happened this week behind them.
I was looking forward to going down and being recognized as world champions.
Wednesday, the Eagles held a voluntary practice for players. Head coach Doug Peterson says now the focus is on training camp and the 2018 season ahead.
It's over, it's behind us, we're moving on.
Still, some Eagles players said Wednesday the president unfairly targeted the NFL players.
People think, you're disrespecting the flag or, stuff like that. That just was never the case. It was just about, killing of unarmed, minorities. That's what it's always been about.
Tuesday, the White House says they disinvited the Super Bowl champions because they felt the team was trying to use the event to make a political statement.
Look, if this wasn't a political stunt by the Eagles franchise, then they wouldn't have planned to attend the event and then backed out at the last minute.
But Eagles defensive end Chris Long says that's just not the case.
At the end of the day, I don't think it's about a statement. I think it's we're a team, we're moving forward, and we're on to minicamp.
One player who didn't speak today, Malcolm Jenkins, a safety for the Eagles, staying quiet in the locker room, instead just holding up handwritten posters with stats about the incarceration rate of minorities and the phrase, "You aren't listening." In Washington, Lauren Blanchard, Fox News.
Your task will not be an easy one. Your enemy is well-trained, well-equipped, and battle-hardened. He will fight savagely. We will accept nothing less than full victory.
With those words, General Dwight D. Eisenhower launched the D-Day invasion, sending more than 156,000 Allied troops to free France and eventually Europe of Nazi Germany's grip. Many died on the beaches of Normandy as dawn broke on the shores of France, June 6, 1944. Visitors marked the anniversary at the American Military Cemetery above the beaches. Some who survived attended a ceremonial wreath-laying at the World War II Memorial in Washington, D.C.
World War II veteran Herman Zychek stormed Upaw Beach at H hour on D-Day with the Army's 4th Infantry Division. He fought in the Battle of the Bulge and helped liberate Dachau.
And joined by Alfred Petrogallo, who was drafted as he left high school.
A member of the 190th Field Artillery Unit, he landed at Omaha Beach on D-Day +1.
We got out of the boat and hand-to-hand battle.
Lincoln Harner was just over 19 at the time, manned the artillery, and entered Gold Beach with British forces.
It was important to get the foothold, and from then on it was a matter of where do we go next?
At a Rose Garden ceremony signing legislation to help all veterans, President Trump remembered the greatest generation.
More than 70,000 brave young Americans charged out of landing craft, jumped out of airplanes, and stormed into hell.
On the beaches of Normandy, saving Western civilization exactly 74 years ago today. At the Pentagon, Jennifer Griffin, Fox News.
Choice. We've been looking for choice for a long time.
That's what President Trump says the Veterans Administration Mission Act will do.
Legislation signed Wednesday expands access for veterans to VA-funded care in the private sector.
All during the campaign, I go out and say, why can't they just go see a doctor instead of standing online for weeks and weeks and weeks? Now they can go see a doctor.
Working out the details of exactly how the law will work is now up to those tasked with drawing up regulations under the new law. But with 33,000 positions unfilled at the VA, the measure will also help hire more health care providers and allow vets to take control of their own care.
If the VA can't meet the needs of a veteran in a timely manner, that veteran will have the right to go right outside to a private doctor.
The big change coming on the 74th anniversary of World War II's D-Day. The surprise attack was the largest invasion by air, land, and sea in history. Among the Allied forces, more than 70,000 Americans.
They gave their heart, their blood, and their very lives on those beaches to drive out the enemy and strike a lasting victory for our country and for freedom.
The new law also provides pre-9/11 veterans with additional benefits such as in-home care. That was previously only available for post-9/11 vets. At the White House, I'm Kevin Cork, Fox News.
It started with a crash loud enough for Nikki Gwynn to run outside of her home near X Street in Sacramento.
I was inside my house and I heard a car accident.
She soon realized it was no accident.
So I grabbed my phone and ran outside with it.
Her cell phone camera captured 12 minutes of chaos.
It's not something you see every day.
Watch as the white SUV plows into the blue car again.
I was actually really scared.
And again.
It felt unreal to watch it.
And again. When the car can't move anymore, a man gets out and you see him stomping and kicking the blue SUV. An ambulance shows up, then a Sacramento police patrol car moves in.
I think our officers acted heroically in this. They were very patient.
Officers kept their distance at first. Sergeant Vance Chandler says this started as a road rage incident on Cap City Freeway near 5th Street.
A caller called us advising that there was another driver behind them, and they had been rammed by that driver.
Police say after the driver rammed a moving car, he focused on the blue car. At one point, he falls off. That's when officers move in and detain him.
My thought was just, I witnessed somebody's mental breakdown, essentially.
Gwynn still wonders, why did this happen?
What was he going through? Why would he do that? We don't know.
If you just look at the video, it's unanswerable. I am disappointed in what I saw.
Mesa, Arizona Police Chief Ramon Batista unable to defend the violent actions of his officers as this video of a brutal assault back on May 23rd goes viral.
There is no explanation that you can justify that level of force.
The video showing 33-year-old Robert Johnson on his phone when suddenly 4 police officers pounce, kneeing and punching him, even after the victim falls to the floor. But it gets worse. The 15-minute video showing an officer shoving Johnson's head into an elevator door, even while he was handcuffed and zip-tied.
The things that he said, and then leaning against the wall, made the officers feel as though they needed to have him sit down. And so when he didn't sit down, they applied force.
Police say Johnson was with a friend who was allegedly trying to enter his ex-girlfriend's apartment. That prompted her to call 911.
I'm enraged. It doesn't seem fair. He told me that the cops walked up on him, didn't ask him any questions.
Police now saying they'll be making changes to the way officers interact with potential suspects.
We will not strike somebody in the face or in the head unless they are showing us active aggression.
3 of the cops involved are now on paid leave. 1 is on administrative leave. Police plan to release more video and details about the incident later this week. Madeline Rivera, Fox News.
The president has pretty broad authority here, and this seems to be a power that this president enjoys exercising, but it does raise questions about fairness and process. Alice Johnson was embraced by family and friends after more than 2 decades in prison.
I'm feeling no handcuffs,
Nothing on me. I'm free to hug my family. I'm free to live life.
Johnson was convicted back in the 90s for cocaine trafficking, a major operation involving dozens of transactions. But her cause was recently championed by celebrity Kim Kardashian West, who visited President Trump at the White House to make her case. On Twitter yesterday, she celebrated. Best news ever, she wrote.
I think it's a very good thing.
On Capitol Hill, Democratic New Jersey Senator Cory Booker praised the decision, but conditionally, as he and others have questioned the process here.
Everyone should have an equal chance, not someone who Kim Kardashian whispers in his ear about.
Trump has exercised clemency powers a number of times, including recent pardons for boxer Jack Johnson, conservative author Dinesh D'Souza, and Scooter Libby, the former chief of staff to Vice President Dick Cheney. As for Johnson, she seems genuinely shocked.
Oh, I will not waste this second chance in life. I believe that God has given me this second chance so that others may one day have a second chance.
And there are some additional potential pardons in the pipeline, including Martha Stewart and former Illinois Governor Rod Blagojevich. In Washington, Doug Luzader, Fox News.
Crews dig through what's left of villages surrounding a Guatemalan volcano, pulling more bodies from the debris after the recent eruption. Dozens are dead, hundreds of people missing, thousands more are displaced. Alfonso Castillo was reading with his 12-year-old when everything was, in his words, destroyed.
It was like an ocean, destroying people in its path, tearing apart homes, pets. I can't believe how many people it destroyed.
Some of the bodies are so badly charred, they're unable to be identified. Crews are hoping to find survivors, but are pessimistic anyone in the area is still alive. There was a brief moment of relief when a baby girl was found inside a decimated home. Some Guatemalans are hanging on to hope by turning to prayer. The volcano is reportedly one of Central America's most active. Locals say they're used to rumbling and spewing smoke, so few people evacuated until the huge clouds of ash came pouring out.
There were people taking pictures on the bridge. By the time they said, "Here it comes," and they got into the car, many died.
Meantime, in Hawaii, new video shows wide rivers of lava on the Big Island. A neighborhood known as Vacation Land has simply disappeared.
I thought it was going to be water that took out Kapoho, not lava. Pele's claimed her land back.
Officials say molten lava filled up a bay so much it's now extended out the coastline by nearly a full mile. In New York, Jackie Ibanez, Fox News.
You look like Anderson Cooper froze to death on New Year's Eve.
Netflix continues to attract big-name talent to its ever-growing library. The company is spending billions of dollars on original series and specials.
What are you going to do about that?
Season 2 of 13 Reasons Why, Dear White People, Glow, and the debut of Lost in Space are garnering lots of buzz. There's also the upcoming premieres of Luke Cage and Queer Eye. The stars know why this online streaming powerhouse continues to dominate.
Hopefully people still go to the theaters, the movie theaters, because I feel like that should never die. But I do think people love being able to control what they want to watch.
People can consume things when they want and how they want. You know, in this day and age, we don't have time to be like in front of our TV on a Tuesday night if we want to watch that show.
When you talk about the difference between Netflix and network television, Netflix is showing you the faces of America. The fact that everyone looks different, acts different, is different. You don't always get to do that on network television. So.
The truth is, I love to binge watch. I love to watch everything all at once. I can't dole it out for myself slowly. I watch it all in 2 days, and then I have to wait the full year.
Trust me.
One notable absence from its lineup, though, live news and sports. And don't expect that to change. CEO Reed Hastings says he's not interested in mimicking the competition. In Hollywood, Adam Housley, Fox News.
The CMT Music Awards, a rocking fan-voted show also known as country music's loudest night. The volume was turned up at a performance-packed CMT, including a standout moment by Carrie Underwood, the most awarded artist in the show's history with a total now of 18, after winning Female Video of the Year for The Champion, featuring Ludacris. Chris Stapleton, Kelly Clarkson also performing. Plus, host Little Big Town introducing a tune for the season, Summer Fever. The group kicking things off with an opening spoof of the royal wedding.
All I can say is
the Big E Video of the Year voted on throughout the show, given to Blake Shelton for I'll Name the Dogs. Sheldon also taking male video honors. Dan and Shay nabbing the Duo Trophy for Tequila. Carly Pierce taking Breakthrough Video for Every Little Thing. And giving a great acceptance speech shout out.
To the guy that broke my heart,
And Backstreet is back and making quite a showing in country music, getting the crowd dancing and winning Best Performance for a rendition of Everybody with Florida Georgia Line.
New music, new award winners, kicking off the music-filled summer season. In Nashville, Ashley Dvorkin, Fox News.
The number of injuries here on the Big Island now rising from 1 to 7, either lava or respiratory related. But behind us, that is what authorities are worried most about. It is the most active fissure here on the Big Island, a river of lava now heading towards the coast where it has destroyed a coastal subdivision. These pictures really tell the story of how fast the lava is moving. The first is from Sunday as lava approached the coast. But then 2 days later, yesterday, the lava has now totally covered the bay, literally changing the shape of the coastline. At one point, there were 117 homes destroyed, but in about a day's time, that number has tripled to hundreds more.
It's like a flood, you know, it's just pouring out, covering everything in its path. Just incredible what it's doing. It looked like there's no stopping it.
The
sound is
roaring
haunting.
and how hot it is, and it just isn't going to stop. That's what's weird, is it's not stopping.
Geologists say 4,900 acres right now covered by lava. So far, no reported deaths. On the Big Island of Hawaii, Jeff Paul, Fox News.
This is a difficult day for me personally. I love the team. I love our exciting future, and I love the people who, work for our organization, our players, our coaches, our staff. This moment, obviously, we're not talking about our exciting future, at least initially. We're talking about, disappointing situation for everyone. And I'd like to thank our staff, players, fans, media, and colleagues across the league for the patience that while we conducted a fair and thorough investigation. The results of the investigation conducted by Paul Weiss determined that Brian Colangelo failed to safeguard sensitive, non-public, club-related information. Ultimately, Brian offered his resignation, realizing the detrimental way in which these circumstances impacted our organization and his ability to do his job effectively. I want to thank Brian sincerely for all of his many contributions during his time here in Philadelphia. He has positioned us well for future success. As stewards of the organization, we remain steadfast in our commitment to bring a championship to Philadelphia. That's what matters. In order to achieve that goal, we need to run the organization with the highest integrity and by attracting the best and the brightest people on and off the court. We believe we are incredibly well positioned for the future and are on the cusp of something truly special. As such, we will continue to do what's in the best interest of this organization. Brett Brown, sitting next to me, will oversee our talented basketball operation department on an interim basis. We have tremendous confidence in Brett and our basketball operations staff, which are very talented, and we look forward to further strengthening our team through the NBA draft and offseason. We just extended Brett's contract and added respected coaching veteran Monty Williams to Brett's staff. Monty is an important hire who is highly sought after around the league. Adding him shows the momentum in our coaching staff and front office in attracting the best talent. We will begin the search for a new general manager immediately, interviewing both internal and external candidates. As always, we will take our time and try to make the choice that best positions this franchise for long-term success. It's not about making the choice quickly, it's about making the right choice. This is one of the best opportunities in all of sports, and we recognize we have the unique opportunity to be a championship caliber team for years to come. We have the best fans in the world, and our mission is to deliver to them the team they expect. I thank the city and our fans deeply from the bottom of my heart. We really appreciate you bearing with us, and we're going to work tirelessly to achieve the championship that is our goal. And now I'd like to open it up for any questions you might have for either Brett or for myself.
Mike.
Josh, sure. Mike Sealski from the Philadelphia Inquirer and Daily News. Josh, Jerry Colangelo came in here in 2015 for a reason and ended up, however it turned out that way, his son ended up getting hired as the general manager here. How great an influence, if any, did he have over the last week or two while you guys were going through the process of deciding what to do about what had happened here with Brian?
Yeah, Jerry was not involved with the process in any way. I am aware of the press report. It's just not true. We did, give Jerry a heads up, at the end of the process, just before this morning, just before seeing you all. But, Jerry was respectful of the process that we had to go through.
Josh, Howard Eskin, WIP, and Fox
We all
News.
know. Just kidding.
Okay. I saw a quote within the last few minutes that Brian said he did not share. I mean, you mentioned that he shared information. He believed he did not share sensitive or whatever kind of information you guys concluded in the investigation. How do you respond to that and what's happened today?
Yeah, look, this was a very sensitive moment for our franchise, and Brian and his family's personal lives and his career were at stake. And so what we did is we hired the best possible experts that we could find to run a really thorough and fair investigation, and then we asked them to provide a statement as to what they thought, and they've written that statement, and so we're going to abide by that statement. Certainly, if Brian disagrees with that statement, he should talk to you, but we feel like that this was an incredibly fair investigation, and that they've put out what they think is the right information and result.
Rich Hoffman, The Athletic. Josh, there was, beyond the sensitive information, there was, from those Twitter accounts, there was very critical comments of some of your star players. It's Joel Embiid, Markelle Fultz, a few other players. How much of an effect did that have? And have you talked to your players about this? What was the role that those comments played?
You want to take this? Go ahead.
Sure. I have spoken to all of our players, and there was a level of uncertainty when it was first declared. When it first became public, there was certainly confusion. We understand Joel's immediate reaction. I have had the chance to speak to, since then, most of our players, and it certainly was an incredibly unfortunate situation, that did confuse people. It confused our players. We feel strong, like the communication with our players has been achieved.
Josh, and then Brett, Jamie Pody, Channel 6 Action News. You guys have worked so hard to legitimize yourself as a franchise, and what a great season you had in doing so. And now that this has happened, there have been jokes around the NBA. LeBron James joked about it. How frustrating is that for you as an owner and for you as a coach to have had that happen, especially coming off such a successful season?
Look, it's an unfortunate circumstance, but I honestly believe that this franchise is incredibly well positioned. I think we're moving forward, and we maybe have if not the brightest, and I would argue the brightest, amongst the brightest futures in the NBA and in professional sports. So I think it's an unfortunate situation, but it doesn't change where we are as a franchise, and we're incredibly focused on the draft and free agency, improving our team. Other than Brian, we have a lot of continuity. We're adding to the coaching staff. We have a lot of continuity of the front office. Brett's been here for many, many years, and we feel really, really great about where we are. But we would obviously have preferred that this didn't happen.
Jessica, go ahead.
I mean, we've all been doing stuff like this long enough to understand that this too shall pass. And I feel that the body of work that we've done over the years and our most recent successful season is going to put us in fantastic shape where we will go into a place with integrity. We will go into a place when you're talking about free agency with a proven style of play, a proven way we try to grow people and a culture. And we will walk into that room with our head high, our shoulders back, and we are, as Josh said, incredibly excited about what is ahead of us. And this incredibly sad situation will not get the better of us as it relates to moving the program forward. I feel very confident saying that.
Jessica Camerato, NBC Sports Philadelphia. Josh, how was the decision made to put Brett into this interim role? And then, Brett, what was your reaction and outlook as you step into this additional position?
Yeah, so the decision to put Brett in was, in my opinion, an obvious one in the sense that the choice of our GM, and as I mentioned, we're going to look at both external and internal candidates, is one that's incredibly important to the franchise, and rushing it, there's not an obvious reason to rush it. And so therefore, with free agency and the draft looming, like we needed to have someone that ultimately spoke for the basketball organization, and we felt that Brett was the right candidate for that, and in terms of everything that he's achieved and his longevity with the franchise. But I want to underscore that, like, underneath, whether, we have an incredibly talented group in the front office, and, they're, all committed, working hard, and, ready to move forward in terms of, their jobs, and they're the real, as leaders, we all, get some of the credit, but at the end of the day, the magic happens with, the front office staff. And so, but that was how we worked through it, those trade-offs.
I think one of the tremendous legacies that Brian should be recognized for is he really, and I mean really, did a great job of putting key people in key positions. And when I look at our front office, the firepower that we really have with Alex Rucker and Ned Cohen and Danny Medina leading our medical department, Mark Eversley, Elton Brand, and it's like you can go on, that we have the firepower that we need to move this forward and not miss a beat. I have no desire to get involved with the day-to-day stuff that, a normal general manager needs to go through to build us. That's not my desire at all, nor is it my belief that that's an effective way to move an NBA program forward. And so my role is one of trying to provide the best leadership that I can and show faith and support and have fun with this and move this program forward with them over the next, month and a half. The free agent market, the draft, keeping our current players on track with their development plans and keeping in touch with them. Those are the things that will rule my day, will rule our day. In regards to my role in all of this, it's simply to provide a level of leadership with people that I trust and respect, and do the best that I can while I'm here moving us forward.
Josh, Zach Geld, CBS Sports Radio. You understand that the fan base, a large portion of the fan base, has a great appreciation for what Sam Hinkie did. If he was willing to maybe come back to the organization, would you guys at least talk to him about that?
Yeah, we have a lot of respect for Sam, and we appreciate how he's positioned our franchise, and we haven't started thinking about we're gonna do our best to find the absolute best GM moving forward, the absolute best leader of the basketball organization, and we need to start to think about that now. The last week has been really about moving as quickly as we could through this process.
Keith Pompey with the Inquirer. Josh, it's the goal to have a general manager in place, by the end of June at the start of free agency.
Yeah, the goal is to find. Everything we do is trying to create long-term success and ultimately championship caliber DNA. And so the goal is to find a GM that can do that can work within the context of the very talented team that we have here. And so if we can do that by the end of June, we're going to do it by the end of June. But I think that we want to make the right choice, not the fast choice. And I think that it is. If the right person comes along by the end of June, we're certainly going to jump at that, because that obviously solves two issues at once. But I suspect that it's going to take longer, because I think that's the way these things are. It takes you a little bit of time to be thoughtful. So I think it's likely to take longer than that, but certainly, doing it as fast as we can is what we're going to do in the context of the other things that I said.
Mike Sealski from the Inquirer again. Josh, you mentioned that you still have a lot of continuity in the front office, but since you've purchased the team, you're looking at now your basically fourth general manager / director of basketball operations in 6 years. Number one, how great a consideration was that lack of continuity in determining what you were going to do with Brian over the last week? If you could speak to that first.
Yeah, I'd say that what drove the decision on Brian was, I guess his belief and our belief that, his effectiveness leading the organization, given what had been, come out on social media, was impaired. So that's really what drove the decision. I'd say that, so that's the answer to your first question. I'm not sure.
Sure. No, and my second question is for you as well. Why haven't you been able, since your ownership began, to establish any kind of continuity in the front office?
Well, look, I think that, we've grown a lot. We've been through a lot as an organization. There are people, sometimes things happen with people, but I'd say that we have a lot of continuity in the coaching staff, and our goal is to create. We don't. The way we approach this is, we think longevity is a worthwhile goal. We think people working together and developing partnerships is a goal. So I think that so far there's been a little bit of turnover at that position. We're looking for Mr. or Mrs. Right, where we can build over the long run. We haven't been able to hit on that person yet. This situation was an unfortunate one, because we were really appreciative and positive of the job Brian was doing, but we felt that we and he and we felt the need to move in a different direction. So we'll continue to work on that.
Kyle Newbeck with Philly Voice right here. This is for either one of you. So the draft is within the next couple weeks here. I know Brett is the GM on an interim basis. Are we to believe that on draft night that means Brett has final say? Like, I know there's obviously, is that going to be the scouting department is leading that, or who is to be culpable ultimately for those decisions?
Yeah, so the way we've run the draft process and the free agency process pretty much forever since we've owned the team is that we hire really good people and that we allow them to voice their opinions. And then we almost have like what we, in my day job, would be an investment committee where, you know, there's a lot of dialogue and debate around the table, and there's a consensus that we try to develop. And ultimately, you know, the GM is given, you know, a large vote, right? But ultimately, it's not, you know, if we're not on board for it, it doesn't happen. So, and truthfully, like when Brett was the coach and there was a separate GM, you know, we would spend a lot of time forming consensus. It's very rare that, and even within the context of the staff below the GM and the coach level, you know, trying to create consensus around what you're going to do is something that we spend a lot of time on. We think we get better results and better thinking and better decisions when we do that. And that's how, you know, David and I run our businesses in our day job, and that's how the Sixers operates. In terms of like whether it's very rare that you can't ultimately arbitrate a decision, and you know, I think if it ultimately came down to that, I guess Brett, David, and I would have to go in a room and figure it out. But like, it's very unusual that you know, we would have a decision like that where people like strongly disagreed and we're on both sides.
Matt Petrillo with CBS 3. The Ringer said they asked about these Twitter accounts at least a week before the Ringer broke the story on May 29th. So how long did the front office know about this issue?
Yeah, I would say that our PR department knew about it, and the way the Ringer described it is right. I didn't know about it till the day the story broke. And so there was, I guess, initially a lack of believing the story from people who heard it. And then as the story emerged in all its glory, people all of a sudden understood the gravity and the severity of what was going on. And I heard about it literally an hour before it broke, and then I literally went to bed at like 1 a.m. because we had to decide what to do about it. And, you know, it was, and I don't know if you remember, but we announced an investigation that day because and it took us a number of hours to get to that decision because we realized that the amount of information that was being provided by the Ringer was credible, and and it wasn't just a made-up story, and we wanted to go through that process. And so, you know, we took it seriously and we jumped on it immediately, and it's been a large part of my awake hours since that happened. But because we wanted to treat it really seriously and carefully and make an informed and appropriate and the right decision.
Kevin Kincaid from Crossing Broad. Brett, this is a question for you about free agency. You know, in your experience, how much does it matter who the general manager is of a team? You know, theoretically, you have Joel Embiid in place, you have Ben Simmons in place, you have a lot of cap room, and if somebody wants to come here and play with those guys or play in your system, play with you as a coach, isn't that not the overriding factor? I mean, does it really matter who the player personnel executive is, or do players make their choices based on who they want to play with, where the money is, and what system?
In my experience, it's the things that you mentioned that ultimately attract a high-level free agent. You certainly can't diminish the stability and professionalism that a GM can provide. But when you say, why did somebody go play someplace, you would think it was because I'm playing next to Ben Simmons, Joel Embiid, and Markelle Fultz, and I hope they respect the style of play that we play. I hope they research me and my coaching staff. And I think those things are the things ultimately that tip somebody making a decision. I feel, as I said at the start, as it relates especially to free agency, I think we're going to be just fine. I think we're going to go into the marketplace proud. We're going to go into the marketplace having a real story to tell. And I think that this is going to be an incredibly attractive place of destination for many free agents. And so we feel good about where we're at, and look forward to getting out and trying to attract them.
Brett, you said you guys are going to be fine, but do you feel like you personally are going to have to go out there and put out a lot of fires? You know, just to, hey, look, everything is fine here. I mean, do you feel like right now, in regards to free agency, that is your role?
Possibly. I feel most strongly that when, you know, we go into a place with some of my coaches, and you start bringing Joel Embiid and Ben Simmons in with me as an example, that will be sufficient. In relation to, are we going to have to put out fires along the way? You would assume that there could be teams that are competitive that will try to take shots. And we feel comfortable. I feel comfortable that we're equipped, we're armed with the information and facts that we need to not let it be damaging. And, you know, we all get how competitive the NBA marketplace is and free agency is, and we'd all be quite naive to think like we're just going to sail through this. But I feel mostly when people do just a little bit even study about what we have to offer, that we will overcome it.
I saw the sales job that Brett did convincing J.J. Redick to come here on a one-year deal, and granted it also took a little bit of money, as Brett's pointing out, but you know, he got him on the court at 1 a.m. right after we were allowed to, and Joel was there, and they were passing the ball around. And he's like, think about Joel kicking it out and you shooting a three. I mean, so I think a lot of I think certainly people will always, as a competitive league, people always try to create uncertainty around their competitors, but I think a lot of my hope is that, you know, is that Brett's going to be out being a great salesman for our franchise, and I'm hopeful that our players that are really committed and who are really, not only in addition to being great basketball players and talented, but good people, will also help with this sales process. And you know, we got to attract the best in the league, and we're not. This isn't. I mean, I think from our point of view, there's a relatively small number of people, but that we want. But if we want them, we're going to have to convince them, because they're going to have a lot of opportunities, and that's the role that I really think Brett will play well.
Josh, is the plan to have Jerry Colangelo stay in his role as advisor?
Yeah, so that's not today's issue. I certainly I've appreciated Jerry's counsel. His deal goes through the end of the year. We're going to be talking about that, and it's probably not today's issue, but we've enjoyed having Jerry, and he's not, you know, I think this whole thing is unfortunate. My respect for him is certainly not colored by this unfortunate situation.
Kristen Rogers, Fox 29. You talk about bringing in the right choice, not the fast choice. What characteristics are you looking for in a person to come fill that role?
Yeah, I'd say leadership, integrity, the ability to work with and surround themselves with, you know, incredibly talented people. And then, you know, an added bonus would be, you know, obviously proven basketball savvy and smarts and intelligence. I think being really smart, those would be the kind of things that we would be looking at for. And there's not that many, and the reality is, listen, I mean, we're going to have very high expectations, and this is going to be hard. Like, we look at this as a club that a lot of people are going to want to join, and we have a unique culture here and a unique team, and it's not going to be easy to find that 100% right person, but we're sure going to try.
Josh and Brett, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Uh-huh. All right, guys, switching gears a little bit here. We're jumping right over to the Rose Garden at the White House. President Trump and his joint press news conference with Shinzo Abe, Prime Minister of Japan. That is coming up next on our stream. So stay here with us, guys. Yeah, I mean, these things typically happen sort of close to on time.
Okay.
All right, guys, I'm going to sit down. I don't know. We got to figure this out in a more expeditious manner. I'm going to sit down.
You're looking sharp. Yeah, I wish I was. There's no question. You're telling me that I thought you were. You'd have an NBA contract. I look shorter on TV. You'd have a different career right now.
But it is the first time an American president, of course, is sitting down with a North Korean leader, and it is going to be a lot more about body language, a lot more about relationships. But the president said it's not a photo op. He pushed back on that idea, but that is something that has been sort of growing.
I think this is probably pretty close to happening because Pompeo's out here, a few other people.
Cat? Writer?
For a 1 day, but we'll see. Reality here is the meeting with the Japanese.
I heard like one quick, hey, are you there? And then I said, can you give me a 10 count, guys? And then they go away. So I don't know if they can hear me or.
Certainly appears to have frank discussions with the president about maintaining sanctions, about essentially holding the line in those meetings with Kim Jong-un next week. So the president, as he heads off tomorrow to the G7 summit in Canada, a meeting with U.S. allies, it seems to be, the relations are frayed with U.S. allies. He's looking.
Are you guys talking to me, to Vega? Great, I can hear you. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. We're good. We're good. We're good.
I haven't seen you out walking your dog lately.
You guys neighbors?
Near neighbors. Near neighbors.
Did you realize he was this tall? I looked over the wrong career.
It's a little hotter up here. Hey, Jen Williams. Hey, Jen. Are you excited? Yeah, tomorrow. Yeah, I went there with Bush in I think '03. Yeah. It's going to be very hot there. Not Rose Garden hot, but it'll be hot. Yeah, that's exactly true.
Behind closed doors, I think we'll have to find out exactly what he's like.
Okay. All right, great.
The author of The Art of the Deal, that he has demonstrated through his successors and his ability to get a deal done. But what I would emphasize is his president, his age and friends have suggested to me is that what makes him most confident is his real belief in himself. They say that's his biggest asset heading into this. Obviously, he's possessing confidence as we heard from him in the Oval Office today as he heads into a negotiation unlike any type of negotiation he has ever dealt with before, which sort of re-emphasizes the significance of Shinzo Abe being here. He has reported repeatedly over the course of the last 15 months or so about how often the president sort of sides with the last voice in his ear on decisions that he makes. And it's clear that Prime Minister Abe wanted to be, if not the, one of the last voices in his ear, at least to represent the Japanese interests before that sit-down just a few days ago.
I think we're a little closer than we were 10 minutes ago. Secretary of State's been here for a while. We're just waiting for the Vice President to show up, and that's a clear indication that we'll be about ready to go. The President's been in an extended bilateral meeting with the Prime Minister of Japan, Shinzo Abe, for about the last 40 minutes or so. They had the meeting in the Oval Office as well. And the President making it clear that he is prepared for this summit, which will be Tuesday morning in Singapore. That'll be Monday evening here in the United States. The President saying, look, it's not about being prepared. Everybody's prepared for this. The United States has been prepared for this for a long time. North Korea has been prepared for this for a long time. What's important here is attitude, the willingness to get things done. The President, though, Dana in the Oval Office a little while ago saying that denuclearization, he called it, he said they have to denuke, but denuclearization is at the heart of making some sort of a deal with North Korea, that if they play their old game of, well, we'll take apart a couple of things and maybe we'll give up a little bit in exchange for concessions and money and other goods from the United States, that's not going to be good enough. The President has talked about it in the past, that he would like to see an all-in-one denuclearization, giving up the nuclear program in North Korea, but it may have to be a more phased-in approach. I think that logistically the phased-in approach is probably the more realistic one. But we'll get a chance to ask a couple of questions of the President here this afternoon, such as how far is he willing to go in terms of normalizing a relationship between the United States and North Korea? What about that peace deal that he teased us on last Thursday, and what his vision of denuclearization is? You bet, Dana.
Ladies and gentlemen, the President of the United States and the Prime Minister of Japan.
Thank you very much. Today I'm greatly honored to welcome my good friend, Prime Minister Abe of Japan, to the White House. Over the past 16 months, the Prime Minister and I have worked closely together to address common challenges, of which there are many, seize opportunities, and advance the interests of our nations. Today, we have had another deeply productive and very valuable discussion. We have developed not only a strong working relationship over the last year and a half, specifically 503 days, but a great personal friendship. I was honored by the tremendous hospitality the Prime Minister showed me when the American delegation went to Japan last year. It was really something very special. And we had the Prime Minister and Mrs. Abe as our guest at Mar-a-Lago in Palm Beach. The steadfast alliance between Japan and the United States is an enduring force of peace and stability in the Pacific region and around the world. From the beginning of my administration, the Prime Minister and I have been working to expand our cooperation in a range of areas, including defense and commerce, which is what we discussed today, as I prepare to meet next week with Kim Jong-un. And I want to bring up the fact that the Prime Minister and also President Moon of South Korea were extremely helpful, cooperative, and they'd like to see something happen. Be great for North Korea, South Korea, be great for Japan, the United States, and the world. Our partnership has been invaluable in reaching this important moment, and we will continue to be in very close communication in the weeks ahead, including the issue of Japanese abductees, which I know is of great personal importance to Prime Minister Abe. I hope the upcoming meeting in Singapore represents the beginning of a bright new future for North Korea, and indeed a bright new future for the world. The denuclearization of the Korean Peninsula would usher in a new era of prosperity, security, and peace for all Koreans, North and South, and for people everywhere. Prime Minister Abe and I are also working to improve the trading relationship between the United States and Japan, something we have to do. The United States seeks a bilateral deal with Japan that is based on the principle of fairness and reciprocity. We're working hard to reduce our trade imbalance, which is very substantial, remove barriers to U.S. exports, and to achieve a fair and mutually beneficial economic partnership. And we're on our way. The Prime Minister was telling us just moments ago that they're buying billions and billions of dollars of additional products of all kinds, military jets, airliners from Boeing, lots of farm products. We're going to be doing a lot more business with Japan, which is what everybody wants to see. There has never been a better time to invest in the United States. Thanks to our massive tax cuts, historic deregulation, a strong trade policy, which has just really begun, because I will tell you over the years it has been an extraordinarily weak trade policy, the opening of American energy, and a return to the rule of law, our economy is absolutely booming, best it's ever been. Unemployment is at the lowest level in nearly half a century. And for African American and Hispanic American workers, unemployment has reached its lowest level ever recorded. We welcome and encourage Japanese investors to open new plants and factories in the United States, and that will happen. The Prime Minister has told me that will happen. We want new auto plants going into Michigan and Pennsylvania and Ohio, and many of our states that have them and some that don't, and they'll be doing that. Japan has also remained a critical partner in our efforts to promote a free and open Pacific region. where sovereign nations uphold the rule of law, respect the rights of their neighbors, and honor the interests of their people. These core principles allow diverse nations to thrive and prosper all together in one beautiful, peaceful atmosphere. We're all happy about it. It's what's happening now. Prime Minister Abe, it is a true privilege to work with you, become my great friend. I want to thank you for being here at the White House, for our meetings today, so productive. I'm also very proud to say that the bonds between our nations are stronger than ever before, and I know that together we can unlock incredible new opportunities, achieve remarkable new prosperity, and ensure the safety and security of our citizens for a very, very long time to come. And that's what we intend to do. Thank you very much. Thank you, Mr. Prime Minister.
Mr. President, I am so grateful to you for this meeting that you offered with great hospitality at such busy time as G7 summit and US-North Korea summit meetings are upcoming. I also would like to express my appreciation to the people of the United States for always warmly welcoming us as your ally. In 5 days, US-North Korea summit is to take place. First of all, I would like to pay my deep respect to the outstanding leadership of President Trump as he made this decision that no past presidents were ever able to accomplish. In the last 18 months, we really spent many hours to discuss this issue. We shall never repeat the past mistakes. While this thought is completely shared between us, we are able to witness an historic talk which will take place shortly. Today, with President Trump, our discussion was focused on the issue of North Korea. What should we do as we approach the upcoming US-North Korea summit, as well as for the peace and stability of Northeast Asia after the summit? On this topic, we took good amount of time and carried out in-depth and candid exchange of views. I'm not able to talk about the details of what we discussed, but one thing I can say is that Japan and the United States are always together. I strongly hope that this historic summit in Singapore be a resounding success. There is a beautiful port town, Niigata, facing the Sea of Japan. A mere 13-year-old girl living there was abducted by North Korea. 45 years have passed since then, during which time family members single-mindedly prayed for her return and kept on waiting. The parents became old. Remaining time is slipping away. It is the long-held desire of the Japanese people to have her and all of the abductees come home so that the parents, while they are healthy, can embrace the girl and other abductees again in their arms. Of course, I wish to directly face North Korea and talk with them so that abduction problem be resolved quickly. To this end, I am determined to take all possible means. On behalf of the citizens of Japan, I would like to thank President Trump and the people of the United States for their understanding and support toward the resolution of the abduction issue.
Japan will continue to ask for complete implementation of the successive United Nations Security Council resolutions. There is no change at all for Japan's policy to seek comprehensive solution of the abduction, nuclear and missile programs, and to realize real peace in the Northeast Asia. This is what Japan strongly hopes for. Now, a major step forward is about to be taken. Donald, President Trump, you are about to make a new history. Not only Japan, but the whole international community is strongly looking forward for the United States-North Korea summit to open doors toward peace and stability of the Northeast Asia. North Korea abounds with rich natural resources. North Korea has a diligent workforce. If North Korea is willing to take steps toward the right direction, North Korea can see a bright future ahead for itself. Japan, based on the Japan-North Korea Pyongyang Declaration, is prepared to settle the unfortunate past, to normalize our diplomatic relations, and to provide economic cooperation. Japan wishes to play the role as much as possible. Donald, I value highly your strong commitment to world peace and prosperity. In closing, I wish to add that Japan stands ready to make every effort to assist you for the success of U.S.-North Korea summit. Thank you.
Appreciate it. So we'll take a few questions, if we can start. John Roberts, go ahead.
Mr. President, on the subject, and I have a question for the Prime Minister as well. On the subject of North Korea, how far are you willing to go in terms of economic, security, political guarantees with Kim? Are you willing to move down the road toward normalizing relationships, normalizing relations with North Korea, as the Prime Minister suggested he was willing to at some point? You teased us as well out on the South Lawn here last week. You said that you might sign a peace deal to end the war. Where are you with that? And what was in the letter?
Well, the letter was just a greeting. It was really very nice. Perhaps I can get approval to put it out. It was really a very warm letter, a very nice letter. I appreciated it very much. And nothing other than we look forward to seeing you, and we look forward to the summit, and hopefully some wonderful things will work out. So it was really very warm, very nice. We appreciated it. I think, John, that we are going to we're going to have a great success. I don't think it will be in one meeting. I think it'll take longer than that. This has been going on for many, many decades. This is something that should have been solved by other presidents, as I've said often before, long before this point. They waited till the last second, and they shouldn't have waited. This should have been solved by many others. I'm not just saying President Obama. I'm saying other presidents. A long time ago, this could have been solved in a lot easier manner and a lot less dangerous manner, but it wasn't, so I'll solve it, and we'll get it done. As far as the Prime Minister is concerned, we will agree, and we have agreed, that we're going to be helping, if the deal is done, we're going to be helping North Korea. We're going to be working with China. We're going to be working with South Korea. President Xi of China has been terrific. The border has been certainly more closed than ever before. I'd like him to close it a little bit more, but it's been more closed than ever before. China has never worked with us this way, and you know, I give him a lot of credit because, as you know, we're in a dispute as to the imbalance of trade. It's a massive imbalance in China's favor. It's been that way for many decades, and it should have also been handled by previous presidents, but it wasn't. So we'll handle that too. But I give President Xi tremendous credit, and I give President Moon tremendous credit. He really would like to see something happen. They've been living with the threat of war from their beginning, and it doesn't make sense. And I really believe that Kim Jong-un wants to do something. I think he wants to see something incredible happen for the people of North Korea. So we have a lot of great opportunities right now. Shouldn't have waited to this point, but we have a lot of great opportunity. John, please.
Again, Mr. President, would you be willing to go so far as to normalize relations with North Korea? And what about the idea of signing some sort of an agreement on the 12th to end the war?
Well, it could be. We could sign an agreement. As you know, that would be a first step. It's what happens after the agreement that really is the big point. But yes, we could absolutely sign an agreement. We're looking at it. We're talking about it with them. We're talking about it with a lot of other people, but that could happen. But that's really the beginning. Sounds a little bit strange, but that's probably the easy part. The hard part remains after that. Normalizing relations is something that I would expect to do, I would hope to do when everything's complete. We would certainly hope to do that. I know that Prime Minister Abe and President Moon have told me very strongly that they are going to go and they will help them economically tremendously. Japan has a tremendous stake, and so do they. We, on the other hand, are very far away. We're very, very far away. But Japan will be helping. I believe China will be helping economically also. I think China wants to see something very good happen, very positive happen. And certainly South Korea has already stated their intentions. They will be very helpful. So there are a lot of good factors lined up for North Korea, a lot of tremendous factors that give it tremendous potential. It has tremendous potential because the people are great. And we would certainly like to see normalization, yes.
And, Prime Minister Abe, if I could address you as well. We know how important an issue the abductees is for you. President Trump said at Mar-a-Lago during your last meeting that it's a very important issue for him as well. We know about the medium-range ballistic missiles. Did you get an assurance from President Trump that he would address both of those in his first meeting with Kim?
Today, we had long hours of discussion with President Trump. Good amount of discussion. On the issue of abduction, I was able to have a detailed discussion, and I think President Trump fully understands the situation. He supports the position of Japan. Last year, President Trump visited Japan. On that occasion, he met with the families of abductees. I told you about the 13-year-old girl abducted. The mother of this girl met with President Trump, and very seriously, he intently listened to the voices and views of the family members. So President Trump, amongst the world leaders, I think he is one of the leaders who understands the issue the most, the greatest. So at the upcoming summit, the importance of abduction would be explained to Mr. Kim Jong-un. What about the medium-range missiles? As I said earlier on in my statement, the Security Council's resolution must be implemented. All weapons of mass destruction and all ballistic missiles, these are the words used in the resolution of the Security Council. In other words, the Security Council resolution must be completely implemented. On this point, between Japan and US and the international community share the same view. I'm convinced about it. Thank you. Mr. Yoshino of TBS, please. Next question, please.
Thank you. My name is Yusa from TBS television. I have a question for both President Trump as well as Prime Minister Abe. You have not used the language of applying the largest pressure on North Korea, but are you continuing with the sanction and the denuclearization? You will be asking for that. And what is the deadline for the denuclearization? And my question to Prime Minister is how to apply pressure to North Korea and the tone of the language. Are you in full agreement, complete agreement with the United States? President Trump has stated that we are implementing sanctions, and those sanctions are very strong sanctions. He also stated that until North Korea takes the action, the sanctions will not be lifted. And Japan is in full agreement, and Japan's position is perfectly in alignment with the United States. And in our summit meeting this time, we had in-depth discussion with President Trump as to how we should respond to North Korea. And as for the future policy on North Korea, inclusive of the U.S.-North Korean summit meeting, we had detailed coordination aligning our positions. As I have already mentioned, Japan and the United States are always together. Japan and United States will be in full alignment to seek success for the historic U.S.-North Korea summit meeting in Singapore.
Yes, thank you very much. Maximum pressure is absolutely in effect. We don't use the term anymore because we're going into a friendly negotiation. Perhaps after that negotiation, I will be using it again. You'll know how well we do in the negotiation. If you hear me saying we're going to use maximum pressure, you'll know the negotiation did not do well, frankly. There's no reason to say it. We, in the meantime, haven't removed any sanctions. We have a list of over 300 massive, in some cases, sanctions to put on North Korea, and I've decided to hold that until we can make a deal, because I really believe there's a potential to make a deal, and I just don't think it's nice going in under those circumstances. But yes, the campaign hasn't changed. China has continued to hold the border. We, again, would like them to do more in that sense, but they've been really good, and the president has been very good. But maximum sanction is there. We are leaving all of the existing sanctions on. We have many, many sanctions to go, but I don't want to use them unless it's necessary. And I don't think it will be necessary, but we will soon know. Okay? Thank you. Sagar Enjeti. Where's Sagar? Daily Caller.
Thank you, Mr. President. I have a question for the Prime Minister as well. Mr. President, under what you've said repeatedly that you are willing to walk away from the negotiations if they don't do well. Under what exact conditions would you be walking away from that summit? And if the summit does go well, will you be inviting North Korean leader Kim Jong-un to the United States?
Well, the answer is yes to the second part of your question, but certainly if it goes well. And I think it would be well received. I think he would look at it very favorably, so I think that could happen. All I can say is I am totally prepared to walk away. I did it once before. You have to be able to walk away. If you're not going to be able to walk away, we didn't walk away from the horrible Iran deal that was signed. And if you look at what's happened since I signed that deal, Iran, and in all fairness, I say it with great respect for the people of Iran, but Iran is acting a lot differently. They're no longer looking so much to the Mediterranean. They're no longer looking so much to what's going on in Syria, what's going on in Yemen, and lots of other places. They're a much different country over the last 3 months. And again, I say that with hope that maybe something can happen. But when you mention sanctions, we're putting sanctions on Iran, the likes of which nobody has ever seen before, including, frankly, North Korea. That would have been the next phase if we did it or find it necessary to do. But nuclear to me is always first, and we're going to be fine with respect to Iran. But we also, Sagar, got something out of it that's very important. A lot of the people that write about this, some of whom I have great respect for, but they haven't picked it up. Iran is not the same country that it was a few months ago. They're a much, much different group of leaders. And I hope at some point they'll come to us and we'll sit down and we'll make a deal that's good for them and good for us and good for everybody. And it'll be great for Iran. I expect it to be, I want it to be great for Iran. But if they would have walked our side from some of the horrible provisions that you know as well as I do, and probably everybody sitting here knows, we could have had a great deal. Nothing wrong with the deal, but there's something wrong with that deal. We had a great opportunity to make a phenomenal deal. So I am totally prepared to walk. It could happen. Maybe it won't be necessary. I hope it won't be necessary to walk, because I really believe that Kim Jong-un wants to do something that is going to be great for his people and also great for his family and great for himself. Okay? Thank you very much.
Sir, if you do invite him to the White House, or to the United States, would it be here at the White House or at Mar-a-Lago?
Maybe we'll start with the White House. What do you think?
Mr. Prime Minister, you are the only major world leader not to have a sit-down or a planned sit-down with Kim Jong-un. You hinted in your address today that you would be willing to do so on the matter of abductees. Do you have any plans currently to do so, and would it be focused solely on abductees, or would you be willing to have a separate denuclearization discussion with Kim Jong-un directly without the United States? Thank you.
Of course, on the issue of abduction, we have to resolve this problem. With Abe administration, this is of the highest priority. And if anything contributes to that resolution, if the talk leads to the solution of the problem between US and North Korea or between Japan and North Korea, the meetings we wish to have on the issue of abduction in the final analysis, Chairman Kim Jong-un and between me, between Japan and North Korea, the problem has to be solved. Of course, Japan, for Japan, missile issue and nuclear issue, very important. Nuclear issue, missile issue, regarding these issues, at the US and North Korea summit meeting, first and foremost, I'm hopeful for the progress. And then on the issue of abduction, we will liaise, we will collaborate with the US and the international community, and Japan ourselves must talk directly with North Korea in the final analysis. I am determined about that.
Mr. Hayashi? Thank you. Prime Minister Abe, I have questions to Prime Minister as well as President Trump. Starting with Prime Minister, you have already mentioned to a certain degree on the abduction issue, in order to hold Japan-North Korea summit, the premise is that you need to obtain results for the abduction issue. What kind of concrete pathway are you envisaging to hold the summit meeting? In your meeting with President Trump today, have you asked President Trump to raise the question of abduction at the US-North Korea summit meeting in Singapore? Next is my question to President Trump. The Kim Jong-un has maintained his position that the abduction issue is something that already had been resolved. So what kind of explanation has been given to the United States on abduction issue in the North Korea to the US, the consultations? And how should we approach the North Korea in order to seek solution for the abduction? And what did you convey to Prime Minister Abe today in this regard?
Well, I can speak first because I will tell you on the Prime Minister's behalf that he very much talked about abduction. It was preeminent in our conversations. He talked about it long and hard and passionately, and I will follow his wishes, and we will be discussing that with North Korea. Absolutely. Absolutely. Prime Minister, go ahead.
Now, at our Japan-US summit meeting we had in the Mar-a-Lago in February, today, once again, as President Trump has mentioned already, I have explained on the abduction issue once again, and I have conveyed to him the earnest wish of the families of the abductees. And President Trump once again has stated that the abduction issue will be raised at the upcoming US-North Korea summit. Now, at the US-North Korea summit meeting, as to the concrete matters to be discussed, I would like to refrain from mentioning this at this juncture. But in any case, Japan's thoughts and position were explained at length, and President Trump has given his understanding, and he has promised that the issue will be brought up at the summit meeting in Singapore, and I am delighted of this. President Trump and the international community, I would like to closely work with President Trump as well as the international community to seek solution to the issue. In solving the abduction issue, Japan itself needs to have direct consultation with North Korea. I have not changed my resolve in doing so. And under this decision and resolve, what will be conducive to solve the abduction issue Of course, I will have to think about the summit meeting for Japan, North Korea summit meeting. If we are to have the summit meeting, the nuclear, the missile, and what is more important, the abduction issue, the solution to all these issues must be sought. And I hope that we will be able to realize a summit meeting which would lead to solution of the problems. But first and foremost, we need to seek advancement for the abduction, nuclear and missile programs. Japan and U.S. should closely cooperate with each other so that we will be able to see great success for the historic U.S.-North Korea summit meeting. And Japan would like to give our all-out efforts and support. Thank you.
I'd like to just close by paying my highest respect and regards and love, frankly. I've gotten to know him very well, to the Warmbier family, the incredible family of Otto Warmbier, who was a brilliant, beautiful, terrific young man. And he has not died in vain. I can tell you that. He has not died in vain. So to the Warmbier family, our love and our respect. Also, I'd like to say that we were tremendously successful in getting our 3 hostages back. And I'm very thankful to the cooperation that we received from North Korea. And the 3 United States citizens are now very happily ensconced in their homes with their families. They're very happy. They didn't think this was going to happen. And frankly, it would never have happened. But it has. So I just want to wish them well also. They had a tough journey, but I really respect the fact that we were able to work with the North Korean folks and get them out. They're very, very well ingrained already. They're back into, they were telling me they're now going to movies and they're going out to dinner and they're back. They're back in our country, and it's a terrific thing. I believe we're going to have a terrific success or a modified success, but in one form or another, if it all goes, and things can happen between now and then. But I know many of you are going, and I look forward to seeing you there. I look forward to traveling with you. It's a long way, but I really believe that we have the potential to do something incredible for the world, and it's my honor to be involved. Thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you.